Good afternoon. Welcome to spring training baseball for the Seattle Mariners. I am the Rooftop Sports, and here joined by I've got Joe Kramer. And what is he known for? Well, he helped make that video about the whole Mariners canceled superstars. He helped write the script, and it helped a lot. People watched it, and I appreciate you, Joe, for doing that. But how are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great, Rooftop. Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking about some Mariners, and it was a pleasure working on that video. I'm glad we got that out there for the baseball fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still remember it seemed like it was just yesterday it was that Dodgers game where the Mariners got completely just blown out badly. And then you happened at the post game, you joined in at the show. And I remember I didn't even do the whole game. Like I took a nap because I got home from work and I woke up and I go, holy crap, they're losing like 8-2. And I almost thought about not going on. And then I was like, nah, screw it. I'll just go on. So maybe if people will come on just to vent, and we had a lot of venting people that day. And that was actually my most watched show of the entire 2024 season for the Mariners.
That was a frustrating series against the Dodgers. And I will be quick to remind you, I did successfully predict the night before Scott Service would be fired. Just got to throw that out there and brag. I think he was fired the very next morning after that show. So just
he was
frustration.
And the funnier part was I did a Mariners morning live show where we were talking about, is Scott Service going to be fired? It seems like it. And we were waiting on the update. And then as soon as we got off, the update happened.
Yep.
That's how it works.
Good times.
Good times, yeah. And we're just going over the starting lineups, and they're on the video, they're showing like all the Mariners players like vibing together. It's like all the pitchers, Bryce Miller, George Kirby, Brian Wu, Taylor Saucedo's on there. But for the starting lineup, it's going to be J.P. Crawford, Dylan Moore. Wait, this is the Texas Rangers one. I lied. All right, here's the Giants. We got Victor Robles, Julio Rodriguez, Austin Shenton, Blake Hunt, Ryan Bliss, Cade Marlowe, Ben Williamson, Jimenez on right field, and Roden of shortstop. And the ones that I believe that really stick out the most, and it's not just Julio, Victor Robles, I'm most interested to see Ryan Bliss and Ben Williamson. And Joe, out of that entire lineup, which one sticks out to you the most?
Well, it's pretty obvious for me. Julio Rodriguez. He's taken a step back each year since his rookie year. When this guy was first coming up through Everett, 2020, 2021, 2022, I personally was super high on him because you look at him, he's 6'3", 220. He's got a great swing. To me, when he first was coming up, I was thinking, wow, this guy is probably going to be just as good, if not better, than Rodriguez or Griffey based on where he is physically at this stage. And the first year, he was a 6 WAR player, but he hasn't really been able to repeat that same production the last couple of years. I'm curious to see whether the coaching staff changes will have any impact on that. The Mariners need him to be the 6, 7, 8, 9 WAR player they were expecting him to be when they signed that extension back in 22. He did bat. I was listening to Bump and Stacy just a few days ago, and they had Rick Riz on, and he talked about, number one, when they hired Service and brought in Edgar, they were 21-13 after they made that move. And after during the last 6 weeks or so, Julio batted .320 with 9 home runs. And so I'm curious to see whether or not he's going to be able to sustain that production in the spring and into the season. If he is, that would be wonderful for the Mariners, and he would certainly be an MVP candidate like Rick Riz believes he will be, and I'm sure so many baseball fans still believe he's capable of being.
And to be very specific, it was in 26 games, on September through October, he batted .328 with a .349 on base percentage, 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, 6 stolen bases. Unfortunately, 27 strikeouts to 5 walks, but that's unfortunately what we expect out of Julio anyway. 39 hits and 5 doubles. So that was his. Hopefully, that is the. Imagine if he could average something like that throughout the regular season. So you multiply 7 times 6. If he kept that pace, if he under the Dan Wilson, Edgar Martinez, Kevin Seitzer, he'd be an MVP candidate if he can maintain those kind of numbers. But the question is, can he maintain it? Because he's unfortunately been known to show a huge amount of inconsistency, because there's months where he looks like the best player in baseball, and then there's a stretch where he looks like it's like, why? That's how it feels.
To me, he's the X factor. He is the Mariners' centerpiece. They're building the team around him, and whatever moves they make around him, a lot of it is contingent on how productive he can be. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and then most likely we'll see just 2 at-bats out of Julio. That's how it happens in spring training. Everyone gets 2 at-bats and then the bench. But the thing I'm most curious is who is on the bench, because the Mariners do have a split roster for today. They got another one against the Texas Rangers, and get specific on what that lineup looks like. If I can find it, there it is. Lineup today is J.P. Crawford, Dylan Moore, Randy Arozarena, Dom Canzone, Tyler Locklear, Ryland Thomas. Yep, that was Ryland Thomas. Then Harry Ford, Dunn, Michael Arroyo, and then Jonathan Diaz is the pitcher. Now I'm just curious who the pitcher is for the game that we are covering, if anyone finds that. If I can. I guess it could be. I don't think it's Luis Castillo. Guess we can find out. Guess we'll find out right here. What did they say? It is Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller is going to be the pitcher, so that will be, I guess that will definitely be something to watch to see how much he's going to experiment on his pitches. And as for the Giants, they got Lamont Wade Jr. They got, I can't even say his name, Marco Luciano, Lee Jung-hoo, or known as Jung-hoo Lee, who was supposed to be the star Korean player for last year, but then he suffered an unfortunate injury. And last season, in 37 games, he batted .262, struck out 13 times to 10 walks, though, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, 38 hits. Now, and yeah, those are the kind of numbers the Mariners would have killed to have. Even with those numbers, they still would have taken it. I would have. And the rest of the starting lineup for the Giants, they got Matos, Huff, Wisely, Schmidt, Meckler, and Koss for
Mike
the
Schmidt
Giants.
at base there. That should be pretty good.
Is that Mike Schmidt's son, Casey Schmidt?
No, they're not related. So bad.
Imagine if it was.
Yeah.
Looks like the game's about to start in about 1 minute, as they have already taken the field. Mariners are at home. They are wearing their teal blue uniforms, and this game is being played in Peoria, which a place that I'm expected to be by March 15th, as it is official. I am going to spring training baseball to watch either the Giants game in Scottsdale, or the Padres game in Peoria. Haven't picked the location yet, and I will be joined by Jay Trident Podcast, as we'll do a podcast before the gates even open. Still have to go through some paperwork, so we'll see there. And on the mound is going to be Bryce Miller. And last year, Bryce Miller had, must I say, he had an unbelievable season, and he was on my fantasy baseball team, and it helped me a lot. I picked him as one of my late picks. I think he was one of my later picks, and in the 24 season, he was 12-8 with a 2.94 ERA and 171 strikeouts. So hopefully we'll get to see more of Bryce Miller, because I remember before last season started, he pitched quite a bit of fastballs, especially in his rookie year. he pitched so many fastballs that he was like home run prone. And then this year, it seemed that, or last season, it seemed like he did mix it up pretty well. Last season, or the 23 season, gave up 18 home runs, and the 24 season gave up 21 home runs. So I guess he gave up more home runs, I guess, but he started more games. Bryce Miller at number 50. The number 50 was also formerly worn by Mariner great Jamie Moyer, who's in the Mariners Hall of Fame. And here is the first pitch by Bryce Miller. And here is that pitch. And that is up high for a ball in the corner. And we are underway here in Peoria, in Arizona, as Arizona has experienced their first 90-degree weather for the first time of 2025. And we are looking now at the 1-0 pitch by Bryce Miller. And here it is. And that is low for a ball. That is going to be 2 balls and no strikes out of Bryce Miller. Because you can see that pitch clock always starts at 15 seconds. And they're doing the ABS system for the umpires. As we are looking at the 2-0 pitch, and here it is. And that is inside for a ball, 3-0. We're looking at a 3-0 count on Bryce Miller. Lamont Wade Jr. on his left side. He is the lefty, number 31.
He's going to be swinging 3-0 here in spring training.
Yeah, could be on the green light. Now the pitch. And that is a strike on the inside.
Starts him off with 4 fastballs. He should get a pretty good fastball to hit here. Wade. We'll see what he can do with it.
3-1. Yep. I don't think you can really mix it up that much. And now here's the 3-1 pitch. And that is up high for ball 4. Take your base. He tried a breaking stuff. And just got confirmed that Steve Silver will be joining real shortly for this show. As we are looking at a guy on first base, top of the first. And next up to bat, we've got Luciano. And now we are looking at the pitch by Bryce Miller. And here it is. And that is going to be right in there for a strike. And the unfortunate thing about this webcast game is we can't even see how fast these pitchers are throwing.
Looks to be in the mid-90s.
Could be, yeah, I would think so. And now here's another pitch. Oh, and that was a curveball, a breaking ball, and that is going to be a 1-1 count.
That's the second curveball he's tried thus far. Both of them missing up in the zone. We'll see what he comes back with. 1-1.
Yeah, that's what spring training is all about. It's all about experimenting the pitches. And now the pitch, and that is low for a ball, 2-1. It is regular practice to see that the offense seems to be more inflated than it really should be. It's because the pitchers are just figuring things out. As we are looking at 2-1 by Bryce Miller. And now the throw to first. And that is not in time. Oh, and it gets on by. It actually gets on by. And now Lamont Wade Jr. is going to second base. It was actually a wild throw by Bryce Miller. It got through the first baseman. That was Austin Shenton as the first baseman. So now we got Lamont Wade to second base. Bryce Miller's pitches, if I can see what it was, he's got a 4-seamer, a sinker, a split finger, a sweeper, a slider, knuckle curve, and a cutter. This guy's really been working on new breaking stuff over the years. He mostly pitched, of course, the 4-seam fastball. That's his majority, 42% of the time. And now the 2-1. And that is a swing and a miss. That was right down there for a strike. 2-2. 42% of the time he pitches mostly the fastball. And 17% are split between the split finger and the sinker. And now we're looking at the 2-2. And now the pitch. And check swing, did he go? Yes, he did. And that's going to be a strikeout for Bryce Miller. And now we've got 1 out. And now we've got Lee Jung-hoo, or in the American way, you say Jung-hoo Lee. As a Korean, I'm used to saying last names first because that's part of the culture. You say last name first. But Americans understand, well, they got to say the first names first because that's how it works. And we've got Steve Silver. How are you doing, Steve?
Guys? Hey, fellas.
And we've got up high for a ball. We are doing well. What's up with you? Oh, Steve, Joe, Steve.
Hi, Steve. Nice to meet you.
Absolutely, Joe. How's everything with you, sir?
Doing well, doing well. Looking forward to
Excellent, man.
watching some baseball here.
Oh, here's a fly ball drilled to right field, or was it drilled? Nope, it's caught. I thought that looked like a home run. I kind of Dave Sims that call.
Right at the warning track.
Are you stationed out in the great state of Washington, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm in Bellingham. Yep.
Bellingham. By the way, man, Boundary Bay. Boundary Bay is a very wonderful, magical place.
Oh, yeah. It's really pretty out here for sure. What about you, sir?
I am in the fighting town of Flint, Michigan.
Oh, it's quite a ways off. Nice.
Yeah, well, I change it up every 5 years. So I figured, why not? No, I came out here for work, sir.
Cool deal.
Work reasons. We got Matos up to the plate, right field. And we got 2 outs so far. Lamont Wade Jr. at third, which was caused by the walk of Bryce Miller. And now the pitch. And that is outside for a ball. That is going to be a 1-0 count.
By the way, there's somebody in the comment section with the name The Sandwich. I think that's excellent.
And not only did he comment, he gave me a very generous tip. Wow. Did not expect that. But hi, Sandwich. Welcome to the channel. Why don't you put in the comments and see what value you saw on this channel? Would like to know. Very curious.
So did I read that right? That what was it? Yesterday, the Mariners had quite the offensive showing. Did I read that correctly?
They did. Their prospects are hitting well too. Harry Ford, Laz Montez, Ben Williamson. But of course, we know this. There are 2 types of pitchers in spring training. One is he'll be bagging groceries in a couple of weeks. And 2, the stars are just experimenting. The 1-2. Yeah. And check swing, did he go? He did not.
The question really is, when it comes to these prospects, and obviously spring training numbers really don't amount to hill of beans. Really what you're looking at is, especially for offensive players, you're looking for solid contact. You're looking to see whether or not any of these kids can add to the major league roster. Are there any on the bubble that you guys like or think that could potentially break camp?
2-2. I think Cole Young, and I think from what I heard, Ben Williamson could be a sleeper. And if he can make major league roster, Ben Williamson, and if he's good, would be great, because I don't want to see Jorge Polanco at third base, because just watching him at second base was painful enough.
I haven't paid attention to it as much as I should have, but I definitely want to check out Lamont Wade, because I know Rooftop's pretty high on him.
Right.
Because the Mariners seem to be pretty high on him. They have a lot of confidence he can take over one of those middle infield spots here real soon, I guess.
And by the way, we were at the 3rd out. It was a ground ball. It was a ground out, and that side is retired. I think it was fielded by Ben Williamson, and we're going to the bottom of the 1st inning. Now continue, boys.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anyone that stands out to you in particular?
Yeah, Cole Young for me really does stand out, and I know that seems a little fudging it a little bit, considering I think that there's a very good chance that he could be on that opening day roster. But I just like the makeup. I like his makeup. I like the way that he plays baseball. From a defensive standpoint, it just seems so fluid. Everything that he does, it looks good. It looks like he's been there. It looks like he's been there and done that. Now, I will admit I haven't seen him in spring training as far as the offense goes, but I would assume that it's not really going to be that difficult for him to put up impressive spring numbers. But I think Laz Montez having a big spring is going to go a long way. But as far as breaking the 26-man roster, I don't think so. But I will say for a bunch of these guys, all it's going to do is raise their stock to a point where maybe they start the season at a higher level than the level that we originally thought they possibly would.
Well, as of now, Laz Montez and Colt Emerson, they are both in Everett. So best case scenario, I think they would both start in AA.
AA.
Because right now they're an A+, but if Laz Montez, if he strikes out too much in spring training, they're gonna keep him in Everett.
Yeah, true.
Because he had a huge strikeout problem in Everett. I saw his games, and I was like, ugh.
Like when he got the call from Modesto, that opening month at Everett was very spotty at best. You saw the raw power though. Like when he connected, you saw the raw power, and you're like, 4 or 5 years down the road, you can see it. But I like the. By the way, I love this dude in the chat room. His name is Thanos Heisenberg, which is such a great name. He's asking who wins the division. Who do you guys like this year?
I'm torn between we got the pitch to Robles, and that's a foul ball. I'm torn between 3. It's Houston because they're Houston, unless their outfield is that bad. The A's could be a sleeper because now they finally spent money. Yeah. And then Texas Rangers if they're healthy.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Houston. I've counted them, tried to count them out too many times. They always seem to come through somehow. Jeremy Pena, Yordan Alvarez. I think as long as their offense has those two in the middle, they'll be capable of doing some things.
As Victor Robles is fighting a foul ball.
You can't bet against teams that just know how to win. That have been there and done it in playoff situations, that know how to navigate the marathon of a 162 game season. I think last year was a perfect example. I mean, that team started the season unbelievably injured, and they just treaded water for the first couple months of the season. And right when everybody got back, everybody got healthy.
Pitch to Robles, and it's going to be caught by the pitcher.
They just seem to switch on like a light switch. I will say this, though, about the Sacramento A's. And it's still weird calling them the Sacramento A's.
Homeless A's, right, Rooftop?
Yeah.
Sacramento A's or just the A's?
The homeless A's. I like the
homeless A's. Homeless A's.
Yeah.
Well, last year, I ended up inexplicably watching a lot of Oakland A baseball last year, and that was a very fun team to watch. A very young team. Had a few veterans scattered in there a little bit, but I love teams that are just so aggressive and playing with blinders on. The only problem with the A's last year was that they just couldn't pitch their way out of the box. And I think some of the things that they did this offseason to kind of strengthen that rotation, because I thought their bullpen was fine. Their starting rotation was just god awful. And I think they kind of took the steps to improve. If they can get like 5 solid innings out of like 4 of those spots, that A's team is going to surprise folks.
Pitch to Julio. And here's a ground ball right to the shortstop, throw to first in time. Nothing much was missed.
I will go out on a limb and say that the A's might be that dark horse team to catch that second wild card this year, ahead of the Seattle Mariners.
I can see it.
Wouldn't be surprised either.
I really like Lawrence Butler in center field.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Dawes Cameron.
I don't know, man. I was kind of a big JJ Bleday guy.
Brent Rooker, who the Mariners should have traded for.
Yeah. For the Mariners, things are going to have to break so right for the Mariners this year.
The pitch.
Right?
Injuries. Here's a line drive dropping in for a base hit, and we got a base hit by Austin Shenton. Got a man on first.
Yeah, like they're going to have to stay healthy. They're not. They can't afford to lose any of their key guys long term. But this team is just going to have to hit. There's no excuses anymore. Like this, we've seen it in 2 years.
We do have an excuse. It's the marine layer excuse. T-Mobile Park's fault.
Dude, that is the lamest excuse I've ever heard.
It really is.
But it's the marine layer's fault that this team can't hit fastballs. Got it. Okay.
Got it.
Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. There was that story that came out that Marine Lair was referencing regarding the T-Mobile Park effect having the most drastic effect in all of baseball, more than Coors Field. Do you think that speaks to maybe how good the pitching staff really is? Like, I mean, they struggled on the road. Maybe they're not as good as we think they are. What do you guys think about that potential idea?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I just feel like there's there's a large contingent of fans that just want to have the built-in excuse, right? Because they've been told for so long that this core of young players is so good, that this core of young players has the potential to win a World Series. And when they have disappointing seasons, right, where they regress, right, they're just grasping for straws. Like, I don't know, man. I like to think that as they continue to mature, they're just going to get better. I mean, it happens all the time, right? But with high-end prospects, I mean, as long as they continue to sharpen that edge, they're going to get better. But
swing and a miss, strike three, down goes Blake Hunt.
I just
really
think
chased for it.
I don't know, man. I just think it's weak. I think it's weak to to make excuses. I would tend to lean to the end portion of what you're saying. Like maybe some of these guys aren't as good as they're billing.
Mm-hmm.
Thanos says, name one pitcher and one batter for the Mariners to watch out for in fantasy. I would say, I would answer that, but Joe Kramer is on my fantasy baseball league, so I can't really reveal my secrets because my secret was apparently broken last year because my best strategy was to start every pitcher against the Mariners, which that actually was my MVP of the season. Yeah. And then everyone else caught on. I got text messages, people telling me, you've been adding people against the Mariners. How do you know? Because my phone kept blowing up with notifications.
Yeah. Well, and also you get texts like, hey man, who's pitching against the Mariners today? I'll give you a name of a pitcher and a batter. The batter is Luke Raley. I think Luke Raley is going to have. A big part of me thinks he's about to have a career year this year. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be times where they're going to, there's going to be times where they're going to play him in a few different positions, but I think he's going to hold down a position for a large portion of the season. I can see a scenario where he has a career year. I wouldn't mind taking Luke Raley in the mid rounds, but watch out for Logan Gilbert this year.
I drafted him last season, and he carried my team as well. I drafted Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Bryce Miller. And Bryce Miller was like my second to last pick of the draft.
Yeah, like I thought Logan was like with all the George Kirby talk last year coming into the season, I was like, no. Logan Gilbert's the guy, not George Kirby. And he had a pretty fantastic year. As far as Cy Young goes, I don't necessarily know. I don't think he's a top fiver, but a top 10.
Top 10 is more fair.
Like 6 through 8.
I still think Kirby has the most upside out of all of them, but it just didn't do it as much last year as it did for 23.
I don't know, man.
So you're a Logan guy. I'm a Kirby guy. Yeah. Kramer, who's your favorite pitcher from the start?
I want them to trade one of them. I want either Gilbert or Kirby gone. I want to see them, step up to the plate, take some initiative. Maybe they could trade one of them for what they need, which is offense.
That's gonna happen.
We've seen so many players, so many pitchers come in here and have success that weren't productive elsewhere. Like Chris Flexen a couple years ago, Marco Gonzalez. I remember Chris Young back in like 2014.
Should have kept Chris Young after 2014.
It's just I don't think it's that hard to find a pitcher who can be productive at T-Mobile Park, and they should play their team toward that, but they don't. So I'm not super in love with either of them, and I'm more biased towards
swing and a miss, strike three, down he goes.
Well, but also you're right though, right? In modern baseball, right? It really is more. It's more about offense than it is about pitching. That's not to say that you can't do it without pitching. You can, but you can do it with three solid arms in your rotation and backfill your rotation, especially if you have a pretty strong bullpen. So I tend to agree with you, and I actually think one of them is going to get traded eventually. I actually do believe that.
I wish they were more aggressive in the offseason. I think I don't think Castillo. I feel like he was probably the third most valuable out of the three of them. So
I think he was like the fourth.
I was gonna say he shouldn't be a number one. I think we can agree he should not be a number one starter for this year.
If
I can
you
make
were
a.
serious about bringing a bat in, I don't think you should have been starting with Castillo. You should have been starting with someone a little bit more valuable. One of the
I can understand their hesitancy because both, but Logan and Kirby have another 2 more years before they hit hit free agency. So I can understand them not wanting to do it now, but understanding this front office and the way it works and understanding this ownership, chances are pretty good they're going to want to get Cal locked up first. Like that's probably going to be their priority. Cal Raleigh number 1. And then it's going to be which of those 2 pitchers is actually agreeable to continue on as a Seattle Mariner, right? If one of them's lukewarm, the other one's showing a little bit more flexibility in re-signing, then that's probably going to be it, right? So, but what's interesting though is last off season they tried locking up Logan to a long-term extension. He said,
and a fly ball to left field, and that's going deep and fouled.
Logan's going to want to get paid top 10 money.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kirby's that kind of guy too, and I don't know if his agent's Scott Boras, but I think it is.
I think that George Kirby is good. Out of the 2, I can possibly envision a scenario where he actually tests the market and gets paid. George Kirby on the market gets paid.
In the hypothetical, they were to trade either Kirby or Gilbert. Are there any players in particular you would like to see them try to get from that trade, or anyone you like value wise? Or
so I guess it's all contingent on who's hitting in the middle of this lineup, right? If this is still a combination, if this is still a combination of Luke Raley, Randy Arozarena, and Julio Rodriguez, I want some contact around that. Like I want a lot of high value contact in this lineup, especially at the top of the lineup. I'm not really big on JP Crawford consistent wise, but I would like to see like a Luis Arias type bat.
Yeah.
George Kirby, or not George Kirby. Bryce Miller just got pulled out of the game. Looks like he's just done for the day.
The idea of getting Tristan Casas and Yoshida from Boston.
Mm-hmm.
That really was like, that kind of got me perked up a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, because 2 guys that are consistently put bat to ball, put the ball in play. Yeah, but definitely high level contact, guys that get on base, guys that aren't afraid to take singles, draw walks, but also have the ability to put one in the gap when they need to. Yeah.
It's nice to have that balance and diversity throughout your lineup, which Arias would certainly bring, which he does to pretty much any lineup. I mean, it makes the guys around him better when you have someone like him hitting in the order. That'd be nice.
I'm sick and tired. Like over the course of the last couple of years, the one thing that has absolutely drive me crazy is a bulk of this lineup trying to swing for the fences every single time they come to the plate, and in the name of hey, listen, if I don't do something, this team is not going to win. It's like the worst mentality you can have, as a position player, because there's 8 other guys in lineup who are equally as capable of doing it, right? So if you're not getting anything to hit, but you do have the ability to get on base, whether either just take what a pitcher's willing to give you and dunk it into left field and get on base, or even draw a walk. It's so pivotal. Doing the little things. And that's something that drives me berserk about Julio Rodriguez, is the maturity is just not there. Hopefully it does. Hopefully we start seeing that this year. But you're not going to be able to play the power game at T-Mobile Park. That's tried and true. You're just not going to be able to do it. And getting back to the earlier conversations about the marine layer, what I will say is in April, the park plays different in April than it does in June. Right? There was a
fly ball to left field. That's foul.
There was a reason why Pat Gill built this team in the early 2000s the way it did.
Right.
You had some power, but you also had a lot of good high contact, high on base guys. That
John Olerud.
Yep. Mark McLemore. Stan Javier.
Ichiro Suzuki. Yeah, just guys that had no problem putting a single up the box.
Mhm.
John Olerud was the perfect example. If you looked at his strikeout to walk splits, it's insane, and his
Shit, Mike
on base
Cameron.
percentage. Mike Cameron.
They don't make him like John Olerud anymore. What a fantastic hitter! 90
Dude, that
walks,
was
50 strikeouts, 320. He was great.
the right combination of contact on base and power.
Mhm.
By the way, those 2 seasons in Toronto, when Toronto went to the World Series and he was their first baseman there in Toronto, were 2 of the best seasons by a first baseman I've ever seen.
Almost hit 400 in 93.
Yeah.
Like 380 or something.
He batted like 360. He had something going in. He was a 363. He had something going, but then he had a little slump in the summertime.
I always
He hit
wanted
exactly 200 hits. Robbie Alomar, huh?
Yeah, back in the day, I always wanted Robbie Alomar in a Mariner uniform.
What year was it that you wanted him?
Good question. 90, 96, 97, 98.
So you could have had. Well, Robbie Alomar then replaces Joey Cora.
100%.
What a double play
100%.
combo you would have had if you brought in Robbie Alomar.
A-Rod,
A-Rod
and Alomar.
Yeah.
Next to Carlos Baerga, one of the best second basemen I've ever seen.
Mariners actually signed Carlos Baerga for the 2000 season for a split second for a spring training invite.
I know. Carlos Baerga in his prime with Cleveland. This is like 88 to 92, 93 in that area.
He was also 95. He hit a home run against the Mariners in the ALCS.
I remember.
The nail to the coffin.
Right after Kenny Lofton did that insane double steal off the wild pitch.
Game 6, man.
It just happened to get off of Dan Wilson's glove. And then when he sees Kenny Lofton, he's like, "Oh shit, I have to throw it."
That was a rare mistake by Dan Wilson. He took his eye off the ball. That was one of those rare mistakes by Dan Wilson that came at like the most inopportune time.
Yeah.
But let's see.
We got the pitch to Ryan Bliss, and that's a strike. And he is one of the prospective starting second basemen for the Mariners. Still have to see how he does throughout spring training, which he hasn't really, I don't think he's done much. He's a 333 hitter, though. The pitch, it's ground ball foul. One of the things we can appreciate about Ryan Bliss is he does have the speed. He just doesn't have his defense is not exactly good.
Who's the dude with the Yankees right now? Not the Yankees, the Mets.
The pitch and a swing and a miss, strike 3, down goes Bliss. And now we got Cade Marlowe. Now, the only thing you may have remembered about Cade Marlowe is he hit a grand slam home run against the Los Angeles Angels in the 23 season, which did lift the Mariners to a victory. And that arguably is what kept his job for at least another month. And then Jared Kelnick came back and took his job back. And then the pitch to Marlowe and a swing and a miss.
Cade Marlowe, huh?
One of those quad A players at best, you say it.
Yeah, Jeff McNeil was the name I was looking for.
0-1. And Cade Marlowe is just chasing it, and it's going to be an 0-2.
I haven't heard much about Jeff McNeil the last couple of years. What's going on with him?
Good question.
Cade Marlowe has yet to have a hit in spring training. As we're looking at the 0-2, and now here's the pitch. And that's going to be outside for a ball.
Didn't have the greatest year last year.
Yeah. It looks like he's been kind of falling off a bit. 326 and 22, 270 and 23, 238 last year.
1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Down goes Cade Marlowe. That's 2 strikeouts in a row on the Mariners. Now, this is probably, we can say that this is the Mariners offense that we know and love. I know it's spring training, but just fitting to say it.
Back to midseason form. Let's go.
We are so back, baby.
Well, you just have to understand who's at the plate, right? Are these guys going to see significant at-bats in the regular season?
Ryan Bliss is what we're expecting, but it's pretty much out of default, unfortunately, unless you want Dylan Moore as your starting second baseman, which I don't think any of us do. As the 0-1 to Ben Williamson popped up, and that is going to be caught by the first baseman. and he makes the catch, and it felt like as if you blink an eye, the inning was already over. And that was the story of the 2024 Mariners. As soon as you blink an eye after the first hitter, it's already 3 outs. That's what it felt like.
You know what? I'm really curious to see what Dylan Moore can do playing in an everyday spot this year. He's been a productive utility player the last few years. I want to see what he can do playing on an everyday basis before I make the judgment about him. But in any regard, we'll see how Cole Young does the first couple months if he's ready to take over that job.
We kind of saw it a little bit last year, right? When we lost Polanco initially, and I think Dylan had a nice little extended run as a starter, and he had that nice little form. I think it was like towards, God, I want to say it was like in May. And I mean, there was I think it was during an East Coast swing where the only guy in the lineup that was hitting was Dylan Moore. And that was pretty much it.
Dylan Moore, career 206 hitter.
I'll say this about Dylan Moore: he plays good defense. They always try to bring in these guys based on just their offense, but when you have the kind of glove production that he does, that takes away a lot of that pressure of what he has to do at the plate. Willie Mays always number one thing in baseball is defense, and he has that, and he can
for sure
here and there. So,
like, I don't want to say that he's not an everyday player. It's just we have seen sample sizes, and I also have to remember that certain players take longer than others, right? So. The curve for certain players, sometimes they're late bloomers, and I understand that, and I'm not going to write Dylan Moore off. But that being said, last year that really that nice little stretch that lasted a couple of months for Dylan really stood out. In the early portion of the season, he actually really was hitting quite well, and then it just seemed to tail off.
Looking at his numbers and his splits. In April is a 193. His best month was May, as we got a nice play by Ryan Bliss, who catches a liner. In May, he hit 241 with 5 home runs, 16 RBI. So May was his best month, along with July, 224. Aside from that, he was a buck hitter.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Nolan Arenado was 3.2 WAR last year. Wow.
Dylan Moore was actually a 2.4.
Mm-hmm. Alec Baum, 2.7.
I don't think you can complain about 2.2 in 130 games. He's had
especially off of Dylan Moore. And now we got a ground ball right to Williamson to throw to first. And that is in time. What a play by Williamson from third base. Williamson's trying to find a way to get himself a starting spot for opening day, as he has been considered one of the sleepers, but an amazing ground ball play.
Who's pitching for the Mariners right now?
Edward Bizardo. Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, nice play.
The pitch.
Yeah, nice play.
And that's a strike. Yeah. Ben Williamson. He's batting around 500 right now in spring training. Yes, it's spring training, but hey, if anyone can play their tail off and get the start over Jorge Polanco and put Jorge Polanco at second base, I won't be opposed. Because at this point, who else are the Mariners going to add? Because they won't. They won't do it.
I never understood Scott Service's love affair for Eduardo Bizardo.
He had a love affair for him. I know what you meant, but he really thought that highly of him.
Yeah, he always seemed to be the first reliever up when they needed one from AAA.
Scott Service always made questionable decisions, but I'm the one that kicked the dead horse about that, as we got a swing and a miss strike too.
The thing that always bothered me the most was him batting Julio leadoff. That never made sense to me.
And Jared Kelenic as leadoff.
Development, to be honest.
Was that Scott Service or was that Jerry Dipoto?
I think it was Scott.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, because from what I hear from what I heard in the Scott Service era, that a lot of those decisions came from the front office.
I feel like it was probably both of them. I think it was probably something that Scott just didn't want to fight. It just wasn't a battle he wanted to pick. But I feel like he was probably on board with it.
Like, I understand the logic, right? Because, you know, in essence, Julio's your best hitter. And, you know, by batting him leadoff, you get him the extra at bat per game. And throughout the course of the week, it's, you know, 4 or 5 extra at bats a week, you know, per week. And then, you know, so you get your best player the extra at bat. I understand that, but, you know, it's a different mentality. Batting leadoff is something completely different than batting.
For a leadoff hitter, you want someone that gets on base consistently. You want like a 350 OBP type of guy. That's what you want.
You're never coming on hitting leadoff. You're rarely coming to the plate with runners on. So you've got all the pressure on you. The pitcher can work you however he wants to
create something out of your ass.
Yeah, well, exactly. I felt like it would have been way more beneficial for him to hit 3 or 4. But
the other thing to consider is, you know, the leadoff guy who's essentially leading off the game for you is 60% more likely to get a fastball versus 3 or 4. But that being said, if he's your best hitter, doesn't necessarily matter where you're hitting him in the lineup. If he can hit it, he can hit it, right? So
2-1.
I actually happen to agree with you, Joe. I happen to agree with you. I think it was a waste of an at bat, if you ask me.
Well, Jared, I think everyone forgot that Jared Kelenic was a leadoff hitter at one point in 21, and I thought that was the biggest waste of time. And I think it actually did hurt his development.
Yeah,
I always thought Jared profiled well as a number 2 hitter.
Jared Kelenic?
Yeah.
3-2.
Say it again.
I'm with Rooftop on it. I don't think they should have put Kelenic or Julio at the top in there.
Yeah.
No, Kelenic was great. I think he was best as a 5 hitter, and he was more of a 3 or a 5 hitter guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look at the stats because
I don't think Jared necessarily had the power peripherals to be a solid 3. If I can remember correctly, his best performances were when he was coming like in the 5 or 6 hole.
I'm looking up his splits and his career when he was, as the Mariners just suffered a walk, they got a man on first and second base, and I hope maybe this is the last time we see Edward Bizardo of this month because I don't see him as a regular bullpen pitcher. But anyway, as a leadoff hitter, he was a 187. Batting second, he was an 091. Batting third, 243. Batting fourth, 225. Then 196. 281 as a 6 hitter.
Yeah.
Then 208, 184, and 229.
This is Kelenic?
That's his Kelenic and his career splits.
Interesting.
So interesting, right? Just not good really anywhere.
In the 2023 season, he was a 388 hitter, batting 6.
He started that 2023 season on fire. I still remember that shot.
I remember that.
In Wrigley at Wrigley.
Wrigley is when it all started. And now the throw to second, and that should be out. Nope, that's safe.
Yeah, that was a blast. He had a monster series in Chicago.
It was Chicago and all of April, where he was actually at one point the best left-handed hitter in baseball. He was putting up insane numbers, and then May something happened.
Yeah, then
he kicked the cooler.
Yeah, then he kicked the cooler.
Yep, and then spoke to the press and cried like a baby about it.
That, by the way, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but the getting rid of Jared Kelenic after the 2023 season, I don't know. I think it sent messages about Jerry Dipoto that he probably didn't want to have sent, right? The fact that Jared Kelenic, when we traded for Jared Kelenic, and he was supposed to be the guy, his hype machine was higher than Julio Rodriguez.
He was supposed to be the next Bryce Harper.
Yeah, and the Mariners gave up on him just entirely way too quick.
They gave up too quickly.
They waved the white flag. I understand they gave him multiple opportunities. I get that, right? But
I feel like he had so much talent.
Two
I
and
think
two.
it was just all between the years with him, and there was a reason why the Mets gave up on him, like basically 6 months after they drafted him. I think it all came down to what was in between the years, and he hasn't been able to make the most of the physical tools he has.
And that's
I don't have any
the
fear that.
that's the biggest
feel like
concern I have on Les Montez is as talented as he is, he has just as much as strikeout issues as Jared Kelenic does.
I heard Jared was just a terrible teammate.
Well, that's what everyone says that he was. I mean, his personality wasn't exactly a fit for Seattle. When you look at his Instagram, he's got that outdoor lifestyle, not exactly a Seattle type of personality. Not saying that's a bad thing, which it's not. Is
he still with Atlanta?
Yeah, he is still there.
Yep.
I hope it works out. I really want him to succeed. I really do.
It wasn't going to happen with the Mariners.
But somehow in Atlanta, he somehow did worse, even under Kevin Seitzer. He batted .231 versus .253 in 23, then a .286 OBP versus .327, and struck out 133 times. But he hit 15 home runs in 131 games, which is still not good for his upside that he's supposed to have.
Watch him go to the Dodgers in 2 years in a part-time role with a stacked team, and watch him hit like 330 in a part-time role.
I drafted him for fantasy baseball last year as my last pick because I thought the Atlanta Braves was going to fix him.
Like
my enduring memory of Kelenic's time as a Mariner is just like him crying to the press after kicking the cooler, and I remember seeing this meme somewhere with him crying and a violin music playing in the background. But I thought that was great.
By any chance, was it the same violin music from Titanic that they used?
No, I think it was from SpongeBob.
Boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song. Wait, I think I might have that clip. Oh, I do.
What was it?
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin. This is serious. I know.
Yeah.
I remember back in the COVID year of 2020 when Kelenic was on the taxi squad, and I went down to Tacoma with a buddy of mine, and we were just kind of chilling. I was in the press corps down there, just we were kind of dinking around, and I remember Jared giving an interview where he was just cocky, he was just brash, he was cocky, and it's been a long time since I ran into somebody who was feeling himself as much as Jared was feeling himself playing taxi squad games, and then he gets his first opportunity. I think it was in 2022 and
21, and he got humbled to the bones.
Yeah, it was that dude. That dude got humbled quick. He couldn't hit jack shit.
I saw him in Tacoma the day he got called up. Like the day that they gave him the announcement, I was at his last Tacoma game. He chucked his bat in the dugout when he struck out. I mean, he was already having a good game, but he chucked his bat, and I was just right there, and I was like, well, there's a slight red flag there. You better cool it.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
He went from throwing a bat to kicking a cooler and hurting his toe.
Yeah, the lasting memory is going to be the dyed blonde hair. You know what I mean? The frat boy look that
frat boy. I was thinking of that
he was rocking. There was a picture. I think it was like Cal and Logan and all these guys went to a Kraken game, and they were all and all the rest of the guys were kind of just dressed down, like, yeah, whatever, man. We're at a hockey game, and Jared Kelenic is, dressed up, wearing his designer clothes, and he's got the dyed blonde hair, and I'm like, this dude. I was like, this dude.
Man, when I'm out in public, I'm like,
I like looking good, but yeah,
I wouldn't dress designer. It's just overkill.
A little much.
Yeah, for a hockey game.
No, I dress normal.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit. I don't think that fits well into Seattle culture, or really any culture. But.
And some rich people out
especially
there,
Seattle, Seattle.
Some smart rich people out there, they actually dress like hobos because they don't want the attention.
Mm-hmm.
3-2. And that is ball 4, take your base. And that was.
You look at Bill Gates, man. Bill Gates does not dress like.
No, he dresses
he dresses
like a bum, but it's smart. He doesn't want to be noticed. Can you blame him? Nope.
Yeah, he dresses like my grandfather used to dress.
I would have thought the same thing too. For my grandfather, we got Rudin
who's number 80?
up to the plate.
Number 89.
Number 90 is what his number is.
Oh, okay.
He's the shortstop. Wonder how old this kid is or guy. He is 24 years old.
Roden.
Wonder what the Brock is all about. That's his name, Brock Roden.
With the little overmatch there and that.
As he just struck out at basically a blink of an eye. He has been spending time in Double-A mostly. In Double-A, he was a 208 hitter, 261 OBP. Let's go, baby. 5 home runs, 31 RBIs in 64 games. Let's go, baby. Let's call him up. JP Crawford, he's gunning for your job.
You got to love these obscure Arkansas travelers.
You got to love these guys.
Hey, now.
Soto Mojo.
The 2010 Seattle Mariners. Soto
Believe
Mojo.
big.
Yeah, believe big. What does that mean?
2008. Mariners baseball, the Mojo's rising.
Yeah, the Mojo's rising.
I said, when I saw that, I was like, yep, we're screwed because we just jinxed it. The pitch to Robles. Did he go?
What was the moniker for the 2021 season?
It was just true to the blue or raise the trident.
Yeah, true.
See us rise, right?
There you go. See us rise. Yeah.
Isn't that still their motto? I think.
No, I think it's trident. True to the trident.
True to the trident.
Got
didn't they?
Throw to first.
Weren't they calling the 3
outs.
starting pitchers, Castillo, Kirby, and Gilbert? Weren't they calling them the electric company or something like that?
Something I don't know. They always come up with these cringe marketing tactics. And by the way, at a blink of an eye, the Mariners offense is gone. Maybe me doing these live shows, Mariners offense just goes poo-poo.
Well, you look at the lineup, right? So it's
underwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, when you have, what is that? Who's catching? Blake Hunt?
Blake Hunt.
Cade Marlowe?
But yet Blake Hunt's a 600 hitter. Ben Williamson's a 500 hitter. So even then, we should still see at least something. But maybe, I hope Las Montez, Cole Young, and Emerson's on the bench. That's what I'm really hoping. If they're in Texas, I'm like, they televised the wrong game.
Well, I'll tell you what, right? So Julio Rodriguez has got excellent batting protection in this lineup today, right? So, the vaunted bat of Shetton.
Austin Shetton.
Austin Bellingham native.
There you go.
Yeah.
We are so back. We are so back, baby. Have you guys ever noticed that, like, chronically, good chronic winning teams never have those dopey catchphrases?
Yeah.
It always seems like the teams that never win always have to resort to these kitschy slogans in order to to
market themselves
to market themselves, to advertise themselves. But like, I've never saw the Yankees or the Dodgers, have like some of these dopey. Like, I remember when the Milwaukee Bucks had "Fear the Deer."
It goes beyond that. I've been at a Yankees game, and they don't need all this
Giants fear the beard.
Engaged, and they don't need any of it. They don't even have
need it.
I think
they just win.
Baseball is the main product. That's what you're concerned.
Yeah, they just win.
Yeah, and look at the Mariners. We're so hung up on the whole Trident celebration. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I know, like,
what's
a practice of everyone to do it, but I still don't like it. Just play
by
baseball.
By the way, do you see what the Detroit Tigers do? The Mariners have the Trident, right? So every time they hit the home run, they have the Trident. Do you guys see what the Detroit Tigers do? They got the little Caesar's pizza spear.
Oh no!
And then there's like 3 pizzas like on the spear, and so they have like the little pizza spear.
Oh my gosh! 0-1 outside for a ball. Now, what is the best slogan the Mariners came up with? As lame as they are, because mine's going to be Soto Mojo. I don't think anyone's beats that.
It's got to be it's the original. Refuse to lose. It's the original.
How else you gotta love these? You gotta love these guys. The
Although-
97 Mariners. You gotta love these guys.
Back in the 80s, they used to have "I Believe in Baseball" over the wall. That was pretty good. Back in the old days, where like the entry on KISTW TV 11, when the Mariners were on that forever, their intro was "I believe in baseball" over the wall.
Oh no.
I go back a little bit. Yeah, but it's the
No.
the original Refuse to Lose. Yeah,
Refuse to lose.
because
you
at
gotta
least the
love these
Mariners
guys.
were caught up in a magic carpet ride to the playoffs.
95.
You gotta love these guys doesn't do it for me. It sounds like, hey, we didn't really do anything in the off season, but look who we still have. You gotta love them.
These guys, you gotta love them. with Booney and Miggy and Shiggy and Cammy.
That's right. And
Yeah,
Shiggy.
and Cammy.
Let's go with Winnie.
Yeah, let's
the
go
pitch.
with Winnie.
We got a pop up all the way to left field. Someone's trying to fight the sun. That's Cade Marlowe. And he makes the
That,
catch.
by the way, that was also like one of the worst points in Mariners history, where they're coming up with dopey nicknames for the players, and it was the same nickname. They just put a Y on everybody's name.
Nelly, Shiggy. That guy, you gotta give it to him. At least he made a living off of it. No, my favorite Mariners commercials is that marketing guy. Remember
Yeah,
the
let's
Lenny
go
the
with
Latte?
Cammy. Yeah, let's go
Oh.
with Cammy.
No, Lenny the Latte. Oh, the hyphen.
Oh yeah. Lenny the Latte.
Did you just have a nightmare? I told you. No nachos before bed.
That's funny.
Oh,
No,
the Three
the best-
Musketeers.
The best Mariner commercial ever was
Oh,
the
here's
Larry
Ryan
Bernan-
Bliss with an
was
effort. Nope.
was the Larry Bernandez. Yeah, Larry Bernandez, but Felix Hernandez.
I know you
had
love
a
to
mustache.
That was a good one.
But you just pitched yesterday. Larry Hernandez. Wait,
Yeah,
who's
I
that
thought
guy?
one was
Who's
really
the guy in the
good.
bullpen? Some guy named Jerry.
I thought that one was really good until they overkilled it with all the promotions and stuff.
Oh yeah, but that's
how good it
The
was.
Larry Hernandez night.
Well, back in the day, man, at least they had some decorum, right? Because they never, they would do like the, they wouldn't overhype their nights. You know what I mean? Like I remember when they had Bobby Ayala goatee night.
They did that.
Oh hell yeah! I was at that game. Everybody got a fake goatee.
Oh, they did one for Dustin Ackley.
Yeah, they had Buter Buzz Cut night, which was always a show.
Well, that one's iconic, at least. And he did buzz a few people himself. We got 1-1. Man on first.
Yeah,
We got looking at a bunting effort, and that's going to be in play. And there's going to be no play.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe if Dylan Moore doesn't work out, they can bring back Dustin Ackley, fill that job for shits and giggles.
Is he kicking around the Indies somewhere,
Oh,
or is he
geez.
done?
I think he's done.
I think he's done.
That guy
He is
didn't look like he
done.
wanted to be out there, I gotta say. Like showing up to the ballpark with that massive beard.
I don't know, man. It's like I think something. Yeah, I think you might be right because it was interesting because I remember watching him in college and he was awesome in college. Like that dude had confidence on every baseball field he stepped on, and until like the second year in his Mariner tenure, for whatever reason. Like I wonder, like if
just
somebody
fell.
he got blunked, or if like somebody like gave him some chin music or something like that and it spooked him. I don't understand like how you went from.
They gave him that Rocky commercial.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
You
I
got it,
remember that.
kid.
That was a good
You
one.
got it, kid. I'm going to make him into a winner. Yeah, that didn't age
Did
well.
they really?
Yes.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, that was a good commercial. He was good his first year. I don't know what happened. Kind of like the Rick Meyer of the Mariners, I guess.
And he did Rick
Yeah,
Meyer
but that being said, man, all those dudes in that time frame were rushed to the big leagues, and
Yeah.
I get
Nick
it too.
Franklin,
The
They're
Mariners were
desperate.
terrible. They were so
And they were-
terrible. They needed offense.
Oof. Yeah. I think Joe Rooftop and I have talked before. Lorenzic, I think he was good at identifying talent. They were just horrible at player development.
Oh, I
That was
agree.
the
I
flaw.
agree.
1 and 2.
Well,
the pitch.
after 2010,
Low for
you
a
know,
ball, 2 and 2.
they had a plan in place, and then 2010 happened, and then he ditched his entire philosophy. Like that was the worst. That was like the worst season, one of the worst seasons in modern baseball history.
That was a
And And then it's like, oh, and then all of a sudden it's like trying to play Oakland A baseball, centered around contact and OBP. Because like when you looked at that team on paper, like the Casey Kochmans of the world and the Sean Figgins of the world, right? Like, where you look at their OBP and you look at their walk rates and contact rates, like on paper it was supposed to work. It just didn't. And it ended up being like one of the worst seasons ever. And then all of a sudden you see him like selling out for power as much as he can. Like they brought in Milton Bradley for F's sake. You know what I mean? It's like they got desperate.
Jack cussed.
Dude, I remember when Carlos Peguero got called up. And I think he went deep like in his first or second at bat, and then everybody was freaking out, and he ended up being like one of the worst busts ever.
Oh
yeah. I think
he had mad power. He could go like 450, 460.
Yeah,
with some of those home runs.
Yeah, like Mike Zunino got rushed.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Mike Z, yeah.
Nick
Franklin, Brad
Mike
Miller
should have been way better.
They could have slow rolled Justin Smoke and let him finish out the season in Tacoma, and come to camp the next year, giving him a full spring training in Seattle, and even starting the season in spring training, in AAA for at least another month and a half, 2 months, and then kind of bringing him up in late May, June, giving him like at least another 400 at bats in AAA. That probably could have worked.
I remember how streaky he was. He would have streaks of like 5 home runs in 10 games and then nothing for 2 months.
Yeah, he could not string together professional at-bats. And it's
nice play by the shortstop, and that just ended the inning.
The talent was
there. I was really excited when it was like Nick Franklin, James Paxton, Taijuan Walker.
Who was the dude
Brad
that you
Miller.
liked, Joe? Who was the
Michael
dude that
Saunders?
No, I like Michael Saunders too, but it was the other guy. What was his name?
Was it? I didn't like Chris. I didn't care about Chris Taylor back then.
I think he might have been a first baseman.
Mike Carp. I was
all
over Mike Carp.
There you go, Mike Carp.
The guy had
I was
a
a
swing.
Michael Saunders guy for sure.
Mike Carp had a swing. Like 2011 second half. That's when Mariners baseball is at least somewhat watchable, because at least Mike Carp hit some bombs and then he just disappeared. And after that,
I'll never forget his Hit It Here Cafe home run.
Oh, I remember I was screaming at the TV in excitement because of that.
Yeah. Into somebody's soup.
Well, Home Dude hit one a couple years ago, didn't he? In the second half when he came over from Arizona. The outfielder.
Mitch Haniger?
No. He came over from Arizona in the Paul Sewald deal.
Dom Canzone.
Yeah. Canzone, the walk-off against Baltimore.
It was not a walk-off. He tied the game.
Yeah, there you go. You're right. He tied the game.
They ended up losing
that. They ended up losing that game, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
And I remember how much Scott Service really did a terrible job managing his pitchers that day. Oh, Dom Canzone. When he hits a home run, his swing is gorgeous. But then when he strikes out, it's like the ugliest swing ever.
Based on longevity, just the fact that he was here for like 9 years, and you look at his winning percentage, Scott Service will go down as the most overrated manager in Mariners.
He is overrated. There are there's still people out there in the Twitter community that are still hung up on him. They still talk about him. And they even say, they were like, well, you didn't get on Dan Wilson for making that decision.
All you have to do is go to game 1 of the 2022
ALDS,
and you can understand how that dude has no idea how to manage a playoff game.
Robbie Ray versus Yordan Alvarez hashtag. But hey, ironically, my YouTube channel wouldn't have grown at that rate had it not been for that, because I made a Yordan Alvarez video after that. And my rant videos actually blew up because Houston fans were watching and laughing.
I think for all intents and purposes, they were done after that home run.
Yeah, it was over. Yeah. And I saw people in the Facebook community going, it was just one game. They'll come back. No, that's not how it works.
How about game 3? How about game 3? It goes to 15 innings, and they can't push across the run.
19.
Were you guys at that game?
No, but I was watching it.
I was there with my dad. We dipped after the Pena home run. We knew it was over. we knew it was over after the Pena home run.
Especially that smoky weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was already in Michigan by that point, but
Julio Rodriguez is working on an 0-2, and now here's the pitch. And now here's a ground ball right to the shortstop, throw to first in time. And this is as boring as it's going to get unless someone from the bench.
I was going to tell you, I was at the Kingdom when Mark McGwire hit the longest home run in Kingdom history. I was at that.
That was also Randy Johnson's career high in strikeouts.
It was actually the funniest thing. It actually happened on Bobby Ayala goatee night, and it was awesome because we were sitting down the first base side when Randy threw the pitch and that ball was just crushed. And the dude that was sitting right in front of us stood up and just said, "Your brother sucks."
Okay, where did that home run end up? Because you can't really see it.
I think it hit the wall.
It was all the way in the upper deck in center field.
I thought it hit
that was a blast. That was a blast.
Randy Johnson was like, "Wow!" And then Dave Niehaus called it as if it was his home team hitting a home run. That's how excited he was to see it.
Just a dude that loved baseball, Dave Niehaus.
He loved baseball more than anything. He lived and breathed. He literally lived and died by the Mariners, literally.
Yeah, he was definitely an icon, man.
And it's tragic that the Mariners never got to a World Series under Dave.
This team needs more people in the front office that care more about baseball than they do about the brand. I feel like that's a huge problem they have.
They're just living the brand on Ken Griffey Jr.
I would like to see a baseball president operations have the cojones to stand up to the owner and just say, "Hey, listen, write the checks. Let me worry about the baseball."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there has to be a line of differentiation between the two. And I feel like John Stanton just interferes too much in baseball operations.
Not only John Stanton,
like you can have a budget, and that's fine, but I don't know. I think he meddles more than he helps.
John Stanton, Howard Lincoln, and John Ellis, because Howard Lincoln, John Ellis are still board members of the team, so they still have just as much influence, if not more influence, than John Stanton.
Well, Nintendo is still a minority owner.
They still are. Nintendo of America. Yeah. Why give it up? The pitch.
I do have a Howard Lincoln story if you guys want to hear it. I met him once.
Yeah.
It's just Blake Hunt up to the plate. That's it.
I was at Ken Griffey Jr.'s. I had the privilege to be at Ken Griffey Jr.'s Hall of Fame induction in Cooperstown. And if you guys haven't been to Cooperstown, it's an amazing experience. Yep. Definitely check it out someday. So Howard Lincoln was there while the parade down Main Street was going on, and he was right next to me. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Here's Howard Lincoln. I was going to get a picture with him and then rip him on my Instagram. But I asked him for a picture, and he was standing a little bit away from me, and he said he didn't want to get his shoes dirty or something. I was like, darn.
Ken Griffey Jr. or Howard Lincoln? Howard Lincoln was the picture?
Howard Lincoln.
You wanted a picture with him, and he said no?
Yeah. I was going to get a picture with him and then rip him. But he didn't. It would be too beneath him to get a photo with a fan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I met Howard Lincoln at Safeco Field, and it's interesting how he knows every single member of the media, because at the time I was doing my radio show at Fox Sports 1380 in Everett, and I had said some things on the air that weren't exactly flattering.
Right.
And I remember I got to the ballpark early, and there was some static getting in, but they didn't pull my credential, but they weren't happy to see me. And I was riding the auxiliary elevator up to the press box, and Howard Lincoln and Chuck Armstrong both got on the elevator. And, Howard Lincoln turns to me and just says, wasn't necessarily a fan of the things that you were saying. If you understood exactly how baseball works. And I just said, man, accountability is a motherfucker, man.
Damn.
Accountability is a motherfucker.
Did you say that to him?
I did.
Oh, wow.
Did he say anything?
And we got a fly ball.
He just walked off the elevator.
We just missed an amazing catch by Lee Jung-hoo, and that just prevented an extra. Oh, actually, no, it's not. It looks like it was a triple by Ryan Bliss. I thought they caught it.
Howard Lincoln,
Yeah.
a grumpy old geezer, is what it sounds like.
The goal
You know-
of the Mariners is to not win a World Series. It's to field a competitive team year after year to put itself in position to
We
win a
don't need
World
to keep
Series.
the best player in baseball to win games.
The
We're-
Alex
Well,
Rodriguez makes an
so-
excellent case. We are always prepared to lose superstars.
Well, so there was a time where we had 4 first ballot Hall of Famers playing together at the same time in their prime. Okay.
Unbelievable.
And to not to even get to one is a shame. But you know, on one aspect, you have to ask yourself what really is winning to these people, right? Is winning in the terms of trophies on the field, or is it in the boardroom, right? Because the Mariners print their own money. That's a very wealthy team. And I keep saying it, like if they wanted to compete dollar for dollar with the Dodgers, they could. If they wanted to go out there and buy every free agent, they easily could. Money talks. When it comes to free agents, money talks. If you're willing to spend, there are a lot of players who are willing to step up and take your money, but they just choose not to. They just don't.
What other team in baseball history has had 3 undoubted first ballot Hall of Famers? I can't think of any.
Maybe Toronto back in the day when they were winning World Series. When you think of Joe Carter, what's his name? What's the
Well, Joe Carter's
Paul
not
Molitor.
3 first
Paul
ballot Hall
Molitor.
of Famers. What
Yeah,
others?
so right. So it's like what Joe
I guess
Carter,
the Giants
Paul Molitor,
maybe with McCovey,
Robbie
Mays, and
Alomar.
Barzal.
How is John
and
Olerud not a Hall of Famer? That's what
Oh, he
I want to
doesn't.
know.
doesn't have the numbers.
Doesn't have the
Not power. Like first base.
Yes.
First base is technically considered a power position. So of course they're judged by the old standard of did you get close to 500 home runs? He didn't.
he was like a 200 home run guy.
But the crazy thing though is like I look back on it and it's like you have Junior, A-Rod, Randy Johnson, and Edgar Martinez on your team at the same time. Coming off of 1995, instead of adding to a team that got within 1 game of World Series, you get rid of key players.
Tino
During that
Martinez,
offseason.
Jeff Nelson, Bill Risley, Tim Belcher, Andy Bennis, Vince Coleman. The list goes on.
Yeah, but Bennis was never going to resign, and Vince Coleman retired, I believe, right? But it's like you get rid of Mike Blowers and Tino Martinez and Jeff Nelson the year after you get within the offseason after you get within 1 game of a World Series.
Mhm.
And yet they still brag. They shove 95 down our throats, but not many people have the understanding of what happened after that.
Well, but then, you strong arm the community into building you a stadium that they didn't want. Like, I think people forget that. Like that vote for the original vote for Safeco Field was turned down.
It was
by
shot
the
down.
voters. And then when the Mariners threatened to move, the Keene County passed an emergency session where they found the funding for it. Okay, great. So you move into a new stadium in which you're actually incredibly good. You get to the LCS your first year in that stadium, first full year in that stadium. And then that offseason, you let A-Rod walk after letting Randy Johnson and Jr. walk in essentially consecutive off seasons. And then you have a historically good team in 2001, and then you hamstring your GM on that deadline when it was obvious that you needed another right-handed bat in your lineup. It was like one of the most, it was one of the most obvious things. And from what I was told, that Pat Gillick had saved money from that offseason, knowing that he was, at some point in that trading deadline, but the owners, thought the team was so good that they didn't need to spend the money to bring in that extra piece. They thought they were going to be good enough to get there. And of course, they ran out of gas at the end.
Against the New York Yankees, they even figured out how to neutralize Ichiro.
Yeah, that was,
Steve,
by the way.
Did you get a chance to check out the Mariners Legacy video Joe and I produced a couple weeks ago?
I don't think so, no. I will check it out, though. I know that Rooftop does some really good nostalgia videos, but I haven't seen.
Yeah, but then now I can take a break from it, which I'm happy about. Can focus on Mariners baseball season, play by play, in a suffering way, I guess, because they may suck.
Yeah. It seems kind of ludicrous when I think about it. The Mariners are playing a part of the country where there is absolutely no other competition in Major League Baseball. Your closest competition's in the Bay Area to the south, and then to the east is either Minnesota or Colorado. Like, you have no other competition in your market.
They hold a monopoly practically in the Northwest, and you have a market in what?
Canada,
Idaho, Canada,
yeah, Canada, yeah,
and even parts of Montana are watching the Mariners.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if Portland
Hashtag where I root.
gets a team, how that might impact the Mariners' financial strategy.
The question is Vancouver ever going to get a team? Will the Mariners allow it? There was when there was talks about the Expos moving to Portland, and Portland put together a nice presentation for Major League Baseball, but I heard the Mariners were back channeling to Major League Baseball. They didn't want the Expos so close to them.
They didn't want the competition.
So you think otherwise it would have happened?
I think
so. Other than Washington D.C.,
I think at the time, Portland could have put together a nice little stadium package. I think they probably could have built a stadium for him. Yeah, I think it could have happened.
Yeah, Portland definitely needs something to do in the summer, because other than the Trailblazers, what else is there in Portland other than really good food in the local areas?
The Timbers.
I think it'd be nice for the Mariners to have a competitor down there.
I do too.
I would agree. Maybe it'll get them to pull it out of their butts, and actually, no, they won't.
There was rumor that Paul Allen would have sold his majority stake in the Trailblazers to be a part of that ownership group that would have bought the Expos and moved them to Portland. There was talk about that. And
Paul Allen definitely would have built a winning culture. What could have happened? The Expos could have got to the World Series before the Mariners did under Paul Allen.
Well, winning culture, I don't know. Because really, I mean, seriously, since his time as owner of the Trailblazers, how many championships have they won in Portland?
0.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, another. Thank you, Jonathan. Who are these people?
Come to think of it, how many Western Conference Finals appearances, how many consecutive playoff appearances have the Blazers been involved in? It's like, yeah.
1999, the Sean Elliott three-pointer. 2000, they blew a 15-point lead against Shaq and Kobe in Game 7, and the Jailblazers became a thing.
Yeah,
Robert Horry, 2002.
They got to watch Scottie Pippen.
Their first pick of Greg Oden over Kevin Durant really fell on their faces. Brandon Roy, unfortunately, his knees betrayed him. LaMarcus Aldridge gave up on them. Dame gave up on them.
Yeah. For as much as he helped revitalize football in Seattle, and I'll give him credit for that because that was such a terrible period in Seahawk history.
Wild throw, and a runner's going to score. Good job, Mariners.
I'll give him the credit, but for revitalizing Seahawk football, but he didn't do jack shit down in Portland.
I think it would have been interesting to see what he could have done with a baseball team because, it's structured a lot different, obviously, than the NFL.
No salary cap. Yeah, no salary cap.
I think that would have been really interesting to see what he could have done.
I would like to think that Paul Allen ownership in Major League Baseball with no salary cap, I would probably assume there would be a budget. But that being said, though, being able to be aggressive, as aggressive as you want in the market, there's a good chance that the Portland Expos or whatever they would have been called possibly could have gotten to a World Series sooner than they did in DC.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That's why I miss Paul Allen from the Seahawks. It's just not the same without him. You just don't feel the same vibes.
They just feel like a team without an identity to me.
There is no identity. Their only identity right now is Geno Smith. That's it.
Yeah, by the way, that says a lot too. That says a lot.
And there are Seahawks fans still hanging on to Geno Smith. I'm like, no, he's just not good. He's a great backup quarterback, but he's not a starting quarterback that you want for the Super Bowl.
I mean, under Mike Holmgren, his pedigree with the 49ers and Packers, that was going to rub off in Seattle. And the work he did as GM, a lot of people don't give him credit. That Super Bowl team that he took, when he took us in 2005, a lot of that was built around his drafts. And I don't think a lot of people give him credit. But that being said, it's like they caught lightning in a bottle with Pete Carroll.
They did. And
you know what I mean? The timing was so good.
And nailing all those draft picks in 2010 through 2012, he nailed almost all of them.
A lot of those draft picks were guys that he recruited down at USC. So he already knew those. He already knew those guys. Some that he recruited, some that he missed on.
Richard Sherman.
He knew the player profiles. Doug Baldwin. Yeah.
Doug Baldwin was an undrafted.
Right. I mean, it's like I think even Jerome Curse, the wide receiver from Washington. Yeah.
Jermaine Curse was
Curse. There you go.
Because Pete Carroll knew him.
Thank you.
Pete Carroll knew him too because of UW.
Yeah. So he caught lightning in a bottle. But
2-2 pitch.
That being said, now we got
that's gonna be a foul ball.
Whoever the hell we got as head coach now, the former Baltimore defensive coordinator. Thank you. Yeah,
Mike McDonald, who is still high on Smith. And at this point,
we should have gotten the dude from Detroit, man. The OC from Detroit.
I would have liked to see Dan Quinn.
Yeah,
Dan Quinn, I've always wanted him back.
Yeah.
The 2-2. And that is
eventually Dan Quinn is going to run his time is going to run in Detroit. He revitalized Detroit, and his time will come up.
Dan Washington.
You mean
Dan Campbell?
Dan. Oh, you talking about Dan Quinn? I'm sorry, we're talking about two different guys. Sorry.
Dan Quinn has helped the Commanders. Took him to the NFC Championship with Jaden Daniels. What, you think that's nah? Oh,
yeah, it's something.
I know what you're really thinking. You're just upset that happened. I'm sorry, man.
No. Like, listen, Dan Quinn. That's right, because he was our DC. That's right. I'm starting to remember now.
He was the greatest Seahawks DC that we've ever had, easily.
Okay, name me another.
You can't. Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley, the OG of that defense. He was actually decent. Who was our
DC under Holmgren when we went to the Super Bowl? I forget.
I don't even know, and I don't want to know.
It's funny. It's like the greatest DC in Seahawks history. It's like we'll name it
no one. As much as we say Ben Roethlisberger's touchdown was controversial, the few plays before that, the Seahawks blew a 3rd and 28. No one talks about that except me.
How about the Phantom? How about the Phantom OPI on
Darrell Jackson? That one was
Darrell Jackson. How about the holding call against Matt Hasselbeck after he threw a pick and then he made the tackle and he gets called for holding?
How about this one? Jeremy Stevens dropping like every other pass, and they were all big plays supposed to be.
The convenient holding calls on on Steve Hutchinson and Walter Jones as we're starting to get momentum and we're driving, and then all of a sudden there will be a convenient holding call.
Yeah. As the Giants are really putting the runs on the Mariners, man, this whole spring training thing, it makes us talk about other things. Once we're in game form, now we're going to be like, no, this is game time.
Hey, Joe, let me ask. What's up?
Joe
Oh,
Kramer, your signal is kind of.
Hey, are you there, Joe?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh,
keep talking.
Yeah, it looks like Austin got a hit there. Did you see what happened there, Rooftop? I wasn't.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was off the wall, 2-run score.
Hey, let's go. My man.
Oh, it's 3-1.
Swing and a miss. And now it's the Japanese pitcher. That's he's trying to get a spot for that Mariners bullpen.
Were you a Sonics fan back in the day, Joe?
It was a little bit before my time. I'm 24, so all I can really remember is the immediate aftermath of them leaving. So I'm kind of a Sonics fan. I mean, my dad and brother went to games. I didn't.
I joined in full time with Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis for 03-04. That was my first full season as a Sonics fan.
Oh, with Danny Fortson?
Danny Fortson, 04-05. Jerome James with his random playoff performance.
Vladimir Radmanovich.
Flip Murray.
Was Luke Ridenour on that team?
Luke
Yes.
Ridenour, Whatcom
The
County
point guard.
baby.
What about Nick Collison? Was he on that team?
What
Yep.
about Reggie Evans, the collector?
Reggie Evans. Yeah, Reggie Evans, man.
That guy was
You
a
guys-
hustler with rebounds.
Do you remember the Ruben Patterson era of Sonic basketball? The Sky Pilot, the
Kobe Stopper.
the Kobe Stopper.
He was never a Kobe stopper. I heard it was Sean Kemp that came up with that name when they were in Portland. Kobe stopper, Kobe stopper, Kobe stopper. Ah!
The guy that we traded away that I always regretted was when we got rid of Desmond Mason.
Yes, because I was part of the Gary Payton trade. But that's what got. I think that was the ticket for the first round pick, though, because Gary Payton was for Ray Allen, and Desmond Mason was for that first round pick that became Luke Ridenour. So that's what it was about. But Desmond Mason should have been kept because he was a fantastic. He wasn't a great shooter, but he was athletic and he could play defense.
I can't believe we drafted Luke Ridenour in the first round, dude. Our front office was just so terrible back in those days.
I wonder who they drafted.
Hey, you guys. Hey, be careful, guys. Luke Ridenour, man, he's a big deal out here in Whatcom County.
Oh, I know he is.
He's very involved in the basketball scene here.
Whatcom County. Where's Whatcom now? Is Whatcom on the east side or is it down south?
So Whatcom County is basically like Bellingham to the border.
Bellingham, okay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
For perspective, Luke Ridenour was drafted over these following: David West, Boris Diaw, Kendrick Perkins, Leandro Barbosa, Josh Howard.
All of them.
Could have had, but it gets worse. 2004, when the Sonics drafted Robert Swift, they could have had Chris Humphreys, Al Jefferson, Josh Smith, J.R. Smith, Jameer Nelson, Delonte West. Now he lost everything, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Kevin
but we ended up with Delonte though.
Yes, through the Ray Allen trade.
Yeah, we ended up with
then
Delonte.
they shipped him off to Cleveland within like a split second, basically.
What was it? Yeah, dude. Like, don't get me wrong, man. Robert Swifty. That was my guy. That was my guy. But
he had talent. Like when he wanted to, he was great.
We seemed like the Sonics seemed like they had the 11th pick in the draft, like right outside the lottery for like 4 years straight. Like, I remember one year we got the French center, and then we also got a French. We got
Johan Petro.
Yeah, we got Petro and Michaela Jelabal in the same draft.
Petro. Oh, Sire Sene over JJ Redick. Ouch. Could have had a 3-point shooter off the bench.
Yeah, we had a terrible front office, man. And I think that was
Wally Walker.
right in the heart. No, that was Rick Sund. That was because Wally Walker got promoted to president of basketball operations, and he named Rick Sund his GM. That was probably the Nate McMillan era. Chris
Hansen let Wally Walker handle the whole Soto Arena thing. No wonder it failed. Wally Walker, baby.
I will give Wally credit. I'll give Wally credit that he tried to find a last minute owner, but Home Dude sold it the next day. He asked for a week to put together an ownership group,
and then Schultz just couldn't wait.
Yeah, Schultz took the deal.
I don't know if you guys have listened to
Iconic Sonics.
Sonic Boom by The Ringer. Came out a few years ago. It goes over the sale and the relocation and a lot of really good detail. It's definitely worth checking out.
Was it more detailed than Sonic's Gate? Because Sonic's Gate kind of set that standard.
It was, because it's coming from a journalist perspective, and they really dug deep with everything. They even tracked down Ed Evans, who they talked about briefly in Sonic's Gate, who basically brokered the deal and kind of swindled them, basically.
And that's why Ed Evans I heard he dropped out of the ownership group.
Yeah, what happened was he was communicating with the Schultz group, and the original group was owners from all around the country. And then at the last minute, when they were putting the deal together, then Clay Bennett and all those OKC guys came in and said, okay, we're buying the team. Yeah. And they didn't really have much time to reset.
Yeah.
the Schultz group.
And he gave
So-
Schultz an offer that he couldn't pass.
And you know what the craziest thing about it was, had the city of Seattle not accepted the deal, the negotiation, because chances were pretty good that the U.S. court there in Seattle would have held the Sonics.
There's a fly
to
ball
their
to right
lease.
field. Oh, that diving catch. Nope, that dropped. That's gonna be another run. Make it 4-1. I thought it was gonna be a diving catch, but it wasn't even
Which
worth the
would've-
interruption.
which I believe would have ran through the 2008-2009 season, and home dude Aubrey McClendon lost his entire fortune in the housing
Judge
crash.
Peckman. No, here was what it was. Had Seattle won the case, which that was aimed to be by Judge Peckman, they would have had 2 years.
Yeah,
Had
2 years.
Oklahoma won, Seattle gets 1 more year in appeal. But then Greg Nichols go, nah, give me $45 million, and I'm pretty sure he pocketed like most of it.
I'm
Yeah,
not
but-
on board with that side. I gotta say, I think they would have fought it out in court, and they would have been gone regardless after 2010.
Yeah, like-
because David Stern said after the Board of Governors vote,
Yeah.
they're going to leave.
Yeah.
It'll be 1 year
Yeah.
or 2 years, but they're gone. And then they
Yeah.
called the city attorney for Seattle, Tom Carr, and said, if you guys fight this out, we're never giving you another basketball team. And they would probably be called the Oklahoma City Sonics if they had fought that out in court, I bet.
Yeah, well, yeah. The interesting thing though is that their lead investment arm wasn't Clay Bennett. Clay Bennett was Aubrey McClendon, and he lost 90% of his fortune in the housing crash of 2008. And had they stuck it out, had they been forced to stick it out for the 2 years, it would have been a very interesting situation to see exactly how that would have played out, whether or not things proceeded the exact same way through the 2008, 2009, that little window right there. Whether or not they would have had the financing in place to continue on, because allegedly Key Arena was not a viable option, and it wasn't the arena, it was the lease, by the way. But
Right.
it could have been like, there could have been a situation where, because they essentially lost their entire bankroll, that they would have been put in a situation where they possibly could have sold, and the team stays. But that being said, the crux of the problem was that Key Arena lease between the Sonics and the city of Seattle, and the reason why it was one of the worst leases in professional sports, because if you remember, when they originally remodeled Key Arena, in order for them to get the bonds, in order for that Key Arena remodel, Barry Ackerley had to agree to terms that were going to be more financially beneficial for the city of Seattle and not the Seattle Supersonics. And everything was fine until the lockout of 98-99 came along.
Mhm.
The lockout, which brought in max contracts, which made free agents far more expensive, which means the Sonics still had to compete for free agents. But because of the way the lease was structured, they weren't going to have the same revenues as some of their other counterparts, because all that was going to Seattle. So when Howard Schultz bought the team, the first thing like that, this is what I don't understand, right? Because, a guy like Howard Schultz, when he acquires something, that thing is vetted by a team of lawyers and a team of economists. And it's like, well, wait a second. Like, when you see the lease, why wasn't your first course of action trying to negotiate a new lease terms for that building? So at the very least, you're not losing money, but you're breaking even, because at that point, it gives you enough time where, yeah, you're not making money, but you're not losing money, and it gives you enough time to potentially put together something for a new building, or what OVG ended up doing. You know what I mean? Like, Schultz just lacked the foresight. He just wanted to be an NBA owner.
Yeah. I mean, my understanding of what the lease conditions was basically they paid the city like $15 million a year to pay off the arena or something.
Yeah,
like
it
that.
was
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was like their yearly lease payment, but like a good portion of the luxury suite sales, like it was like 60% went to the city of Seattle. And it was something egregious, like parking and concessions, like 30% went to the city, went to the city as well too. And the only thing that the Sonics took 100% of were season tickets and single game tickets. You know what I mean? But everything else, like a good portion of those revenues went to the city of Seattle on top of their lease agreement. It was not a beneficial agreement between the two parties. But again, prior to the 98-99 lockout, it didn't come into play because the Sonics were selling out the building every single year.
Right. My school of belief is I think Schultz and Walker just ran the team into the ground. I don't think Key Arena was ever the problem. I think they just mismanaged it, probably underpriced tickets, and just didn't maximize their revenues when they were playing at 90-95% capacity every year. And,
even when they were a bad team, they were still able to draw fans.
Yeah, I mean, there's a large part of that's true because they were definitely mismanaged right around the turn of the century, from like 99 to 2002, 2003. That was not a good team. They did not have a plan in place to rebuild. And a big part of it was Wally Walker dismantled a championship team after the 96 finals run. He systematically dismantled that team.
Jim McIlvaine, Vin Baker.
The fact that he didn't pay Sean Kemp was a travesty.
And poor Sean. Speak of Sean Kemp, his weed shop got robbed recently.
Oh no,
That's too bad. I like Sean. He's a good guy.
He's been trying everything. Like he had that sports party bar in Queen Anne, didn't work out.
Yeah,
and
Oscar's Kitchen.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple times. I went there a few Sonics related night events.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I met Sean on a few occasions. Really good guy, man. I like Sean.
We all did, yeah.
Yeah.
He was a down to earth guy.
Guys. The coolest guy was Sam Perkins. That guy was awesome.
The Big Smooth.
Big Smooth.
Big Smooth. Yeah, he was a good guy.
Nothing but net. Big Smooth.
Nothing but net.
5 guys in a groove.
And by the way, throughout this time of talking Sonics, the Mariners still have not scored. Other than that one accidental run.
It's spring training, guys. It's spring training.
But they should be hitting the crap out of the ball. These guys are going to be bagging groceries.
Some of them
and
might. It's unfortunate.
And where's my
last?
And also, the Texas game isn't doing any better either.
The Seattle Grocery Baggers, new name for the team.
You got
Mariners have. Here's the other lineup: J.P. Crawford 0 for 3, Dylan Moore 0 for 2, Randy Arozarena 1 for 3, Dom Canzone 0 for 3, Ty Locklear 2 for 2.
That's
Harry Ford
another
2
guy
for 2.
I'm looking forward to seeing.
Ty Locklear, I would not mind having platoon with Luke Raley, or have him split between DH duties. Not Mitch Haniger.
How about you just give him the month of April? No platoon. Just let him man first base for a full month. Give him some at-bats.
Just like last season, Luke Raley did not get enough at-bats for left-handed.
Oh, Luke Raley played like once a week for the first 4 weeks of the season, first four or 5
yeah,
weeks
that was really weird. And then when he played kind of full time, I was like, oh, he's actually pretty decent.
Now, in all fairness, the word was that he came into camp a little later, and because I think he was coming off his honeymoon. He got married late, and he came off his honeymoon apparently. But word was that he came into camp a little overweight, and so it took time for him to get back in the swing of things. But that being said, he looked sharp. He looked sharp pretty early, though.
And last year was actually his career year. He actually played better than his Tampa years, arguably. He had a better ones above replacement of 3.2.
That'd be nice. That would be nice if the Mariners had like 6 or 7 guys in their lineup that at least carrying a 3-WAR. That would be nice.
Versus lefties, how did he do? Trying to see how he. Man, this whole Scott Service like lefty righty matchup. Poo. Okay, against righties, 20 home runs. Lefties, he was a 189, and someone caught the ball, and it's gonna be 1 out. But yeah, he was a 189
might be telling you
hitter.
something though. Yeah, versus lefties, he batted a $189 versus lefties.
But he only had 74 at bats. That's the kicker.
Mm.
So he had less than 100 at bats.
Speaking of lefty, maybe the real reason the front office won't spend on any free agents is because they have PTSD from Robbie Ray. I don't know.
And Robbie Cano.
And Robbie Cano. Yeah.
Except the Mariners got out of that deal. They got the Mets to eat a good portion of that
Yeah,
money.
but they only got 3 years of his 5 that he was in Seattle plus a PED suspension. So, that's that's a little egg on your face for a guy who gave $250 million to.
Throw to second. Oh, bad throw.
Robbie Ray. Because what's funny, in the one full season we had Robbie Ray, I didn't think he was really all that impressive.
No, I thought he was horrible.
I thought he had good moments, but I really can't stand strikeout pitchers that burn through 100 pitches in 4 innings. Just ultimately trying to strike dudes out, where it's like, come on, man.
It seemed like to me like he was out of shape throughout the year.
He did look out of shape, and I think it caught up to him for 23, and that's why his body betrayed him. And now he's just getting back into the groove.
Yeah, they're still eating Haniger's contract too, of course.
Ew.
I mean, that's a byproduct of the Ray deal.
Yeah, but the crazy thing was it's like, I remember Robbie Ray during his Cy Young Award winning season in Toronto, and he was the same dude. It's just the way he pitched. He was just this high velocity, high volume thrower that just did not know how to stretch innings out. He was always constantly trying to strike dudes out, and it's like, man, there are other ways that you can skin a cat. I mean, you can throw some ground ball outs and mix it up a little bit where you can consistently go 6, potentially moving into the 7th inning. But that dude always seemed to be done by the
Ben
fifth.
Williamson makes a nice diving catch.
Who was the other lefty that was like that too? The guy that we traded Adam Jones to the Orioles for.
Eric Bedard.
Thank you. He was very Eric Bedard-ish, and he didn't conserve his pitches. That's my issue with Castillo, by the way, too.
Yeah, that's why Castillo keeps giving up those home runs.
Mm-hmm.
Castillo to me is just a guy who I hate to say it, but he's a dude that will try to overthrow in tricky situations, and it ends up biting him in the ass too many times, because he always seems to be good for a 3-run inning. He always seems to get hit early when he runs into trouble. I'm not the biggest Castillo guy ever.
1-0 pitch, and that's a foul ball. Still top of the 6th inning, man on second base. Oh, they're advertising low value games as low as $10. Does anyone want to guess where those seats are? I can. I know where they are.
Center field.
Center field bleachers, which are bar none the worst seats in the stadium. I'd rather be at the bleachers.
I don't know, man. I've had some fun in the center field bleachers.
But you can't see the jumbotron.
Who cares, man? Who cares?
You don't care? Well, you don't want to see.
No.
You don't want to see racing boats and play the Mariners hat trick game.
Who was the former Tampa Bay center fielder who ended up in the who ended up with the Dodgers? I used to heckle the crap out of him from the center field bleachers. Carl Crawford. Carl Crawford
played at third base, and Ben Williamson gets a play. Nice play at third. His defense has looked pretty good. His defense, knock on wood, can't be worse than Jorge Polanco's defense, and he's batting .500 still.
Carl Crawford was nice. I remember him.
Yeah, Carl Crawford was really good.
Yeah,
very good. I think he went to Boston first, and then he went to
Felnine
Celestine. It didn't work out for him in Boston, unfortunately.
Felnine Celestine is going to replace Rodin. He's coming on.
Ooh, Felnine.
Celestine.
It's interesting, right? Because second half 2022 Luis Castillo versus 2023, 2024 Luis Castillo, it's two different pitchers. The way that he was attacking the strike zone during that playoff run in 2022, the way he was mixing up his pitches, the way that he was approaching hitters was vastly different to the dude that we saw last year. Vastly different.
In the last 2 years. I still kind of wonder
saw-
how he even became an all-star. I thought Logan Gilbert.
You saw it a
should
little
have
bit
been
in
the all-star.
2023. A
I
part of me
didn't like-
wonders if a part of me wonders if he just got paid. You know what I mean?
I didn't like that
he
he
got
was
paid and he just
chosen.
kind of settled in.
I didn't like that he was chosen as like the representative all-star for the Mariners for the 2023 All-Star game. I thought that should have went to George Kirby because George Kirby and Julio, they came in as last-minute replacements.
Right. Didn't Julio get added late to the Derby?
Yes. And
Yeah.
he lost.
That was at T-Mobile, wasn't it? Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah. I think the best highlight of that was the softball celebrity game. I should have went to that. That one was fun.
I was going to come back for the All-Star game when tickets went on sale, and I was thinking about coming back and going to the All-Star game, and then I saw how much tickets were, and I was like, yeah.
How much were they?
They were quite pricey, man.
Were they?
Yeah.
And
Like
we
an
are back
$800
from the
They're like in
break.
the $800 range, $800 or more.
Jeez.
We're back from the break, and I think this is Felny and Celestine. If it's Felny and Celestine, I got to actually do a play-by-play on this kid. Is it? I can't tell. Nope, it's Victor Robles.
Victor.
Felny and Celestine came in as a defensive replacement. So, but hey, let's
How
see
much-
if Mariners. What?
I was going to say, how much do you guys want to bet that Victor Robles by the end of this year will either not be in a Mariner uniform or he'll be relegated to the fourth or fifth outfield role?
I'm willing to take on the
That's an
second.
interesting bet.
Say it again.
That's an
It's
interesting,
an interesting bet. I wouldn't be
Yeah, it's an-
surprised. I can't see him sustaining that.
By the
success
way,
from
I
last
hope
season.
I hope he proves me wrong, but a lot of good things happened with him when he came over. Like, you have to remember, he was a DFA. He was a DFA candidate last year that came over. He was claimed off of waivers. And from his prospect days, I think he was a prospect with the
1-1.
Boston Red Sox.
I think it was the Washington Nationals,
Nationals,
actually.
Yeah, he was with. I think he got DFA'd from Washington, though.
He did.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
And,
productive when they won.
yeah,
the
like, I'm not-
World Series team.
like don't get me wrong. There's some things that he does, but is he a dude that you can rely on? To be productive every single day over the course of the season.
He was signed as an amateur free agent in 2013.
He
Yeah,
really
that's-
struggled over the last month of last year, didn't he? I don't know the exact numbers, but
Well, I think he was also dealing with a hip injury too.
interesting.
But I don't know, man. There's something in the back of my
Robles,
mind that makes me wonder
August,
if
he was a
he can do it.
244. September, he was on fire with a 389 average. So
Okay.
September, he was his best month.
We'll see.
We'll see.
What do you guys think about Jorge Polanco? Do you think he can turn it around? In
No.
Jersey?
I don't see it.
No.
I don't get it. I don't understand why they're going to play him out of position at third base. I don't.
It's
get it.
because Jerry DePoto saw a video of him looking good in a workout.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. Like, it doesn't really matter what position you play him. He's going to be a liability defensively to begin with, anyways. But if he's less of a liability at second base, then you play him at second base, right? And if he's healthy, he's healthy. And regardless of position, if he's healthy, technically speaking, he should be able to hit. But that being said,
Hi, Pete.
what happens if he's playing third base and he's an absolute albatross at third base? Like that, taking a player out of his rhythm and then potentially having that snowball is not going to help that's not going to help batters for him at the plate.
Yeah.
Ty Pete is pinch hitting for
Like-
Julio Rodriguez. As we're looking
I'd
at
rather
1-1.
see them play Cole Young out of position because at least Cole Young is a little bit more athletic.
He is athletic. Guy can steal bases, and that's low for
You
a
know what
ball
I mean?
1-1.
You
And
know,
that's if Cole Young makes the team.
speaking of bringing old players back, I'm honestly really
Oh, they
surprised
got-
they haven't brought
that's
back
right, I
Mike
forgot.
France yet. Right, Rooftop? I thought that would happen by now.
What?
Bring back Ty France. I thought they would.
I thought that was going to happen. I really did.
It wouldn't surprise
that's
me
right.
at all.
That's right. They got Donovan Solano. I forgot about Donovan.
Ty Pate's fighting a 2-1 count so far. And now the pitch.
Yeah, that's probably going to happen. Ty France might just end up in a Mariner uniform.
Oh
Again.
yeah, they love those sentimental bringing back player signings. They're a sucker.
Nostalgia 2022 nostalgia, baby.
Yep.
Las
And
Montez is playing against Texas Rangers right now.
Didn't you find it amazing that as soon as he gets away from Scott Service, he reverts back to what he was doing back in 2021, 2022?
Pretty much.
I
3-2 for
I found that quite
swing and a
comical.
miss. Another strikeout. Mariners are striking out the Storm.
Then again, he was playing in Cincinnati, so you're hitting in that ballpark.
I was never huge on Ty France. I absolutely hated his swing, and I know he finally tried to fix it a couple of years ago, but at that point, it just felt like too little, too late.
Too little.
Too bad
late.
that drive line workout did not work.
It's really tough to reinvent your swing, especially. At
he was trying to be like more of a pull side power guy. You know what I mean? Like you have to I understand where he's coming from, right? You're playing a position where if you can be a consistent 20 home run hitter from the first base position, you're going to get a contract extension, especially if you can kind of keep the on base numbers and the average numbers where if you keep them level to what you had previously done, and you can add a little power to it. The problem was whatever happened in that offseason at Driveline, that dude all of a sudden couldn't hit fastballs. It was like, he was having major timing issues, timing up, fastballs that just a year prior he was putting in the gap for doubles. You know what I mean?
So is it safe to say that Driveline made it worse?
I think Driveline works for some guys, but maybe
it works for JP.
The problem is that he didn't understand what his pitch was that makes him successful. I don't know.
Right. It's like, one of the things that I appreciate about Ty was that, on the fact that he didn't have that type of raw home run power, at least he was still doing the little things to get on base. And he was still, there was a clip in August and September of 2021 where that dude seemed like he was an automatic double. You know what I mean? Like with runners in scoring position, that dude seemed to always have a timely double. And that was in lieu of the fact that he wasn't a great defending first baseman, and the fact that he had no power. At least he was making himself useful in other areas. And then for whatever reason, there was just a massive drop off in 2023. A lot of people thought he was injured, was playing hurt. And then last year, it was over. But then he goes to Cincinnati. And then all of a sudden he comes alive in Cincinnati. So you tell me.
I remember last year during camp, he said he was talking about the swing changes he made, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just it's coming along good, but I'm trying to correct a year's worth of bad habits, so it's going to take a little bit." And when he said that, I thought, okay, he has absolutely no confidence in the changes he made, and this is going to be a rough first few months.
And you wonder if it was the Mariner coaching staff that was pressing him to change his swing. I thought it was too. That's the thing. It's like, one of the things that I played with some pretty good coaches, and I played with some pretty bad coaches. And the best coaches are the ones that get out of the way. And it's like even if you do things that rub your coaches the wrong way, if you're successful, there's a reason why they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because maybe those are the things that make you successful. So you double down on your strengths and you try to correct your weaknesses. But I mean, if it comes in the form of an overall swing change, which is, by the way, what ruined Dustin Ackley. The Mariners meddled with his swing. And if you notice his batting stance from year 1 to year 2, from year 2 to year 3, it was a completely different batting stance. They completely warped his batting stance. But those are some of the things that I didn't necessarily appreciate about Scott Service. I do believe it was a coaching staff thing.
I mean, when I looked at Ty France's swing, I remember his contact zone was like this big, because he would just come straight down on it and come through.
Yeah.
And and I was thinking, okay, he's a high fastball hitter. So, but I don't know, maybe he just overcompensated, and then with the changes he made, he couldn't catch up to the high fastball anymore. So maybe he just overdid it, perhaps. I don't know.
Here's a play, and that's going to go right through Felny and Celestine for a base hit. And that means we got a man on first base.
Yeah, there were times in 2023 and 2024 where he would go a full week without making contact. Yeah. And then, he would like bloop a single, and everybody would be like, Ty Prince, seeing eye single.
That's how I felt about Haniger when he had a bloop accidental walk off. He's so back, baby.
Yeah, the worst thing that happened last year was Mitch Haniger homering on opening day, because he should not have played every single day for like 3 weeks after that. It was, yeah.
It was bad.
That sucks too, man. That sucks too, because I'm the world's biggest Mitch Haniger guy, and to see that last year, it really hurt my feelings last year. To watch the potential ending of a guy that, like in his prime was amazing.
Mitch Haniger was right field when he started. He batted 2 for 3 with a 2-run homer.
Lyle said about Mitch Haniger?
What did he say?
He said,
Lyle Goldstein.
Yeah, there's an every other year pattern when it comes.
No, that's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, you said that. Yeah. Well,
no, I said no. Mine was the every 3 years and double play, by the way.
So he's
mine was the every 3-year rule.
Yeah. Well, let's think about this, right? So, all right. So when did Mitch Haniger have the when did he have the injury for the ball? Because didn't he have like a ruptured testicle injury?
Yeah, that was 2019.
2019, right? So then he didn't play in 2020 in the COVID year, came back in 2021, had a career year. 2022, he got hurt early.
Felny and Celestine looks pretty sharp.
2023, he got hurt again. And then last year he was
24. So 24 was supposed to be a season where he had a re-breakout, but hey, age got to him. And then Lyle Goldstein is believing that Mitch Garver can do better on odd years.
Gotta love Lyle's logic. Gotta love it.
Hey, you gotta love him for trying. At least he's trying to like spin something. You can't blame him for it.
This is, by the way, this is where we're at with the Seattle Mariners. You know what I mean? We're spinning conspiracy theories.
By the way, it's 7th inning stretch.
Gotta have something to hang on to.
I'm gonna start it off.
Go ahead, man. It's all you, Roof. It's all you, Joe. Go ahead. Sing. It's all you. Go sing the 7th inning stretch.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if they ever get back, so let's root for the Mariners. If they don't win, it's a shame. It's just spring training. Relax. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. And bring back Louie Louie.
If there was a guy, let me ask you a question real quick. If there was a guy in the league right now that realistically is in play for the Mariners via trade, who is the guy that you want in a Mariner uniform?
Vlad Jr. Let's just start unrealistically.
No, I said realistic, not unrealistic.
Depends who's on depends who is on a contract year and who has years of club control.
I kind of want Rafael Devers.
Rafael Devers, he killed the Mariners in that Boston series.
Yeah, I've always
when Scott Service put in Taylor Saucedo, I believe, because lefty matchups. Oh, how'd that go?
I'd like Brian Reynolds. I know there was some discussions about that a couple years ago, but they don't seem like they want to move him anymore.
Yeah,
considering that the Pirates signed him an extension, but yeah, he was a hot name.
Wasn't the asking price George Kirby?
No, it was like Jared Kelenic and George Kirby.
Yeah, it was something like that for Reynolds.
Here's a trade proposal idea. I got one. This one's realistic. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Lazaro Montez, Cole Young for Paul Skeens. Let's get Paul.
So, all right. So it's so it's two frontline starters in Kirby and Gilbert, a top prospect in Laz Montez, and a top prospect in, you said what, Cole Emerson or Cole Young?
Any of them. Throw both of them in there. Let's get Paul Skeens in a Mariners uniform.
For Paul Skeens.
Let's go all in for Paul Skeens. I want
Paul Skeens.
So you're trading the farm for Paul Skeens, huh?
And then lock him up for 15 years. Yeah.
So you have Paul Skeens and Julio Rodriguez locked up long term.
Yeah, and then just bring in some scrubs in the rest of the starting rotation, and they're going to do great because it's T-Mobile Park. And there we go. We got a baseball team.
The T-Mobile Park logic.
Yeah, exactly. And Paul Skeens pitching at T-Mobile is going to have like a sub-1 ERA.
As crazy as it sounds, I love it.
Yes, let's do it.
I love it. Yeah. Who was the other guy that I liked? Who was the other guy? I mean, at the top of my head.
There's Jordan Westberg, Nolan Arenado.
No. Oh yeah, I was the dude that wanted the Mariners to trade for Juan Soto. For his last year before free agency. Like I was the dude that was like, whatever the asking price is, just give it to San Diego.
Even if it included losing him in free agency and gave up probably would have given up like a Logan Gilbert.
Yes. Because
Laz Montez.
By the way, do you know how awesome Julio Rodriguez would have been hitting in front of Juan Soto in this lineup?
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah,
and Julio Rodriguez has no plate protection still.
Yeah, like the best protection you can for Julio Rodriguez is put the best hitter in baseball.
Oh, and a bobble drop by the first baseman. And we still have no outs. There's a runner on first and third. I know it's spring training, but at least there's men on base.
With this team's pitching and just those two dudes in the lineup, yeah, something crazy magical could have happened. Even if you don't re-sign them. Even if you don't, with this team's ability to draft and develop, losing top prospects is like the least of their worries. And by the way, if you do have a magical run and you get in the playoffs, anchored by Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez, and if he enjoys his time in Seattle, there's a good chance that he's going to give you action on a renegotiation. Now he might not resign in Seattle.
Even as a Scott Boras client.
No,
he might not resign in Seattle, but at least he might be willing to listen to see what your offer is.
I mean, the Yankees basically were outbid by $5 million, and that was enough for him to leave. I think the Mets were always the team he was going to go with. I really liked Juan Soto until like 22. I thought he was one of the best hitters in baseball, but when the Nationals traded Scherzer, Turner, when they traded everybody to go all in on making him a National for life, he wouldn't even negotiate with them. I mean,
Scott Boras told him not to.
Way. Yeah, the funny thing though is why is your dream destination the New York Mets? Of all teams to make your dream destination, what is it about the Mets that you favor over a team that you were just in the World Series with?
Yeah, and especially the Mets, who have a very long years of losing culture. The only thing that they have winning is their owner, Steve Cohen, who actually does try. He really does try.
The Mets.
Well, you'll see ironic. We got a base hit to left field, and that's going to score in a run to make it 4-2. That goes all the way to the wall, and I think he's going to go to third base. And we got men on second and third with nobody out. And who's up to the plate? I think now it's going to be Luis Seibel up to the plate, third baseman. He was mostly a Modesto guy. We got Luis Seibel. Then we got Donofrio. I can't even say Donofrio. And Felmin Celestine. This is a must. Cannot miss.
I'll tell you what it is about the Mets, right? Because with the Yankees, he's sharing the spotlight with Aaron Judge.
Mm-hmm. So he wants his own spotlight.
Aaron Judge to the Yankees now is what Jeter was to the Yankees back in the day, right? Which is why everybody hated A-Rod when he was with the Yankees. Because Jeter was so loved, right? Aaron Judge is that is that new beloved Yankee. And if you stay with the Yankees, you're going to be playing second fiddle to Aaron Judge in New York, right? But if you go to the Mets,
You're the guy. You're the man.
You're the guy. You're the guy.
And he believes he could be the chosen one.
The team is being built around you.
Yeah.
With the Mets.
We've got a 1-1 count so far. This is Luis Seibel. He's the third baseman in the pitch, and that is a strike. And
Luis
also, and also breaking, my trip to Arizona is officially happening. I'm gonna be there on the 15th with Jay Trident Podcast.
There it is.
And the 1-2, and that's gonna be still 1-2.
You got to spend some time. You got to spend some time in the salty señorita.
We're going to, not only am I going to the games, but I'm also looking to go to Sedona, to go to a mass there on the outdoors, from what I heard. And now here's a line drive, and that's going to drop in for a base hit. 2 runs should be scoring. There is one. The throw to the plate, not in time, and the Mariners have now not only tied the game. Looks like they just tied the game with a 2-run single.
Look at the Modesto nuts.
Luis Seibel at work. Wonder how he
gotta let you do it. Yeah, dude, the Modesto nuts are talented, man.
They were a fun team to watch for at least April, until Laz Montez got promoted along with Colt Emerson. That was a loaded team at the time. Even their end of 23, they were loaded. But here was his numbers in Modesto for Luis Seibel. He was 15 home runs, batted 276, 351, but he strikes out like a mofo. 90 RBIs in 120 games.
Was Johnny Vermillo was on that Modesto team, wasn't he?
But he tore his ACL.
Right. But yeah, he was a part of that squad.
He was also going to be another hot shot. He's also projected to be another hot shot prospect. But with that torn ACL, then now you don't even know how he's going to recover.
What's Samad Taylor's role going to be this year?
AAA, maybe utility at best.
I like Samad Taylor.
We got D'Onofrio. Can't even say his name correctly. If anyone can say it correctly for me, let me know. And D'Onofrio. Oh, reminds me of Chris D'Onofrio, Mr. Walk-Off 2014. Very clutch. He was a bad hitter, but when it came to clutch, he hit. That 2014 team should have made the playoffs.
I think it's D'Onofrio. Like the actor, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah. On deck is Felnine Celestine.
Obscure actors.
Here's the 24 team. While there is a timeout going on, looks like the catcher just got back to the catcher's mound or catcher's.
You said the 2014 team?
The 2014 team, I think, should have made the playoffs.
All right, shoot.
Hold on. We got man up to the plate. That's D'Onofrio. Oh, the throw to first. Not in time. I mean, you had Felix Hernandez, Iwakuma in their primes. And that was Felix's last prime season, in my opinion. Then you had James Paxton on the rise, Taijuan Walker, Roenis Elias-ish. He had a good bullpen, except I hated Rodney, though.
Yeah, Fernando.
And then you had Robbie Cano. Like, it should have at least snuck in the playoffs and had a 1 game. The starting rotation. Oh, and Chris Young. No one talks about it. They all think it was all Robbie Cano. The starting rotation was what carried that team more than anything else.
All right. So what was the starting 9? Who was in left field for that 2014 team?
Let's find out.
No, I like Saunders though. Let's look at the last day roster as it was.
Hey, Joe, I think you're about 10 seconds behind on the game.
Oh,
you gotta go. You gotta go opening day, not last day.
It's as far as it's gonna take me. So 10 seconds, unfortunately, is 10 seconds. I mean, I know behind on a lot of things. But I'll go to the opening day lineup and I'll go to last day's lineup. Now the pitch, it's gonna be a fly ball popped up, and that is gonna be caught. And now it is time for some Felnine Celestine. Let's go!
God damn, you're worked, dude. You are hype. You are hype right now for Felnine.
It looks
I
like we got
was.
Charlie
like-
Furbush in the booth. Speaking of 2014,
Sure.
Well,
Mike
that's- I'm
Zanino, Mike Zanino was behind the dish. Lomo was at first. Robbie Cano at second. Brad Miller
Hey, I
at
got
short.
I have the lineup, but we'll do it as soon as this bat is over the pitch. And that is a ball for Felnine Celestine. He put on some weight because
Dustin Ackley was in left.
oh god,
yeah. He robbed
James-
a home run.
James Jones
James
was our center
Jones.
field. James Jones was our center
And that's
field.
going to be popped up, and so much for being hyped about Felnine Celestine. And,
And
it's
Michael
caught for
Saunders
the
was
catcher.
in right. And Corey Hart was our DH. Corey Hart.
Hey.
The guy,
I met Corey Hart when I was working in retail. I asked him, like, hey, what's your plan for next season? I'm going to go back to the National League.
Yeah.
really?
That's what he literally says. I think he
The guy
got
who wears
embarrassed.
his sunglasses at night. And you think and you think the 2014 team could have snuck into the playoffs based off its starting rotation?
Hold on. Here's the lineup.
Jeez, what a horrible
Center
lineup.
field was
That was terrible.
Abraham Almonte, Brad Miller, Robbie Cano, Justin Smoke, Logan Morrison, Kyle Seager, Michael Saunders, Dustin Ackley, and Mike Zanino. That was the first day lineup.
That's basically the same lineup as 2011 plus Cano.
Oh,
Hey,
dude, I forgot to mention we had Andy Chavez on that team and Kendrys Morales.
we need a Kendrys.
Ooh.
I need a Kendrys. Not gonna happen.
How about the 190 plate appearances of Stefan Romero?
Oh, I hated Romero. Don't get me started.
How about the 78 plate appearances for Cole Gillespie?
Don't get me. Who? Right? Oh, here was
How
the
about-
last day lineup: Austin Jackson, Dustin Ackley, Robinson Cano, Kendrys Morales, Kyle Seager, Logan Morrison, Michael Saunders, Mike Zanino, and Chris Taylor. While your starting rotation for that season, notably, let me go to it. It
If
was
they had
Felix
Brendan-
Hernandez, Hiwasashi Iwakuma, Chris Young, Roenis Elias, Erasmo Ramirez, and a young James Paxton.
If they had Brendan Ryan at shortstop that year, I think they could have won 90 plus games if he were still around.
Yeah, because who
think
was
he
the
was gone by-
shortstop? The shortstop of that team was Brad Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad Miller was not good. He had one good year in Tampa, though.
Brendan Ryan was like a 5 WAR player in his peak.
Remember
Yeah.
when he tried movie impressions on the commercial?
Oh yeah.
The
You good,
that
you.
was not
You good, you.
that was not a good baseball team. That was really not a good baseball team.
So you think it was okay? What is the most? Which team that didn't make the playoffs should have made the playoffs with the team they had? I'll throw out some notables.
Okay.
2009 maybe.
96 Mariners,
Mhm.
2002 and 2003 Mariners.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously because they were 90-win teams, they were pretty good. But
I would
the
say
90
2007, but they had a horrible run differential.
The 96 Mariners, yes, if Randy Johnson didn't
Was
miss
healthy.
he missed a large portion of the season that year. 2009 was sneaky good. That was the Franklin Gutierrez Death the Flying Thing season.
Jared Washburn finally lived up to his contract,
Yeah,
and then they traded him.
I think
maybe
the
2000.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say maybe 2009 overachieved a little.
I
They
would
did
say
overachieve.
2003. I think it would have been really interesting to see what that team would have done in October with the chip on their shoulder from 2001 and, good starting rotation. They would have had
It's
something to do.
just and they also had one of the better bullpens in baseball. The only thing, the thing that was missing was the big bat. When they really should have tried to get Aaron Boone. But
Aaron Boone wasn't really a big bat though. It would have been cool to see the Boone brothers back again. But the crazy. So, do you guys think that the 2003 team was better than the 02 team?
I think 02.
I'd say so.
No, I think 02 had an edge. It just happened on a bad year.
I'd say
Yeah.
I pick 2003 because of the pitching. the 5-man rotation throughout the whole season, and they were all productive.
Let's find out and see how good that 2002 and 2003 was.
Wasn't Gil Mesh in that rotation?
In 03 he was. He was a comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
Here's the rotation.
Pinheiro,
Jamie
Mesh,
Moyer,
Moyer,
Ryan Franklin, Joel Pinheiro, Freddie Garcia, who had a horrible year, and Gil Mesh. Gil Mesh had a 15-13 season, so that was their starting rotation. And your bullpen was backed by Shigetoshi Hasegawa, Julio Mateo, who really had a good year. Arthur Rhodes was on his down year. Rafael Soriano had a breakout, and Jeff Nelson, and a broken Kazuhiro Sasaki.
Didn't we trade Rafael Soriano to the Atlanta Braves for
Horacio Ramirez?
Yeah, Horacio Ramirez.
Now here's 2002. Jamie Moyer, Freddie Garcia, Joel Pinheiro, James Baldwin, and Ryan Franklin.
Oh, God. Get James Baldwin out of there.
James Baldwin was bad.
Terrible. Baldwin was bad.
He was that replacement for Aaron Seeley. And the Mariners were trying to get Jason Schmidt, but the Mariners wouldn't spend worth a dime, so he went back to the Giants. So I think 2003 had a better starting rotation.
Didn't Jason Schmidt, when he went back to the Giants, didn't he get hurt?
I think so. He became an all-star.
I think he got hurt.
Who knows? If I remember.
Now
the 2002 bats. Catcher Dan Wilson, John Olerud, Brett Boone, Carlos Guillen, Jeff Cirillo, Mark McLemore, Mike Cameron, Ichiro, and Edgar Martinez. And then 2003, which you would think the lineup looked better on paper, Dan Wilson, John Olerud, Brett Boone, Carlos Guillen, Jeff Cirillo, Randy Wynn, Mike Cameron, Ichiro Suzuki, and Edgar Martinez. And your infielder towards the end of the season was Ray Sanchez.
Okay.
And your backup catcher was Ben Davis.
So listen to this, right? So this is your 2009 Seattle Mariners. Your catchers were a tandem between Kenji Jojima and Rob Johnson.
Yeah.
Kenji, he was okay. Not great. Not bad either.
He wasn't 2006 or 2007.
Your first baseman was Russell Branyan.
Russell the Muscle.
Muscle Mannion, who hit 31 home runs, 76 RBIs. Your second baseman was Jose Lopez, who I think it was didn't make the All-Star team, but he had All-Star numbers. 27 home runs. 25-96. And then Unieski Betancourt was your shortstop for a short period of time. He played with Ronnie Cedeno
and Jack Wilson.
Right. Your third baseman was Adrian Beltre. Your left fielder was Vladimir Ballantyne and Michael Saunders, and then Ryan Langerhans for a little bit. Franklin Gutierrez in center field, Ichiro in right, who had an unbelievable season. And then Junior was your DH, and that team won 88 games.
85.
And then there you go. Your starting rotation was Felix, who went 19-5. Jared Washburn,
8-6.
Ryan Roland Smith,
hyphen.
Jason Vargas, who I was a big Jason Vargas guy back in the day. Eric Berdard and Ian Snell pitched 64 1/3 that year.
Don't forget your bullpen, Chris Jakubowskis.
Jakubowskis. And then your bullpen was David Ardsma, Mark Lowe, Miguel Bautista, Sean White, Sean Kelly.
They were a very cohesive unit that they say themselves.
That bullpen, by the way, that 2009 bullpen was actually really good.
And 2010,
that was where
something happened.
They were wearing the gladiator masks in the bullpen. They had the gladiator helmets in the bullpen. That team feels like under the new playoff rules with the second wild card, that team probably could have made the playoffs.
Are you ready for 96? For 96, do you want starting rotation or lineup?
Let's go rotation first.
After Randy Johnson's injury, Sterling Hitchcock,
yeah.
had a good first half, and then he just disappeared. Bob Wolcott,
Bobby Wolcott, yeah.
the one-hit wonder, more like the one
Yeah.
game wonder.
The one game wonder, yeah.
Wonder. Bobby Wells.
Matt Wagner,
Yeah.
who turned into Jeff Facero. So at least he did something. Then Jamie Moyer in the second half and Terry Mulholland in the second half.
Oh, I forgot about Terry Mulholland.
Kurt Schilling was supposed to be the guy, but they didn't want to spend the money. And then Bob Wells.
And Bobby Wells ended up being the ace of that staff too.
He was named the pitcher of the year by Seattle Baseball Writers. What an award.
Bobby Wells.
If they gave me that award, I would just thrown it in the toilet.
Yeah.
Now you're starting. Now your lineup. Ready for this?
Yeah.
Prime Dan Wilson, 18 homers and 83 RBIs, 285. Paul
Good season.
Sorrento, who had 3 grand slams.
I hated Paul Sorrento, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, because he wasn't Tino. Joey Cora.
Yeah.
Alex Rodriguez, who was just a freak.
Rookie year. Essentially his first full season, rookie year.
Russ Davis, and then it turned into Jeff Matto. Then it turned to Edgar for a game, and then he got into a collision with John Marzano. And then Dave Hollins for David Ortiz. Woo!
Yeah, but he was David Arias at the time.
True. Rich Amaral, and that turned into Mark Whitten.
Was our left fielder? Who was our left fielder that year? Darren Bragg.
Darren Bragg, and then he turned into Jamie Moyer.
Okay.
Ken Griffey Jr. Well, duh. Jay Buhner, who had a career year. Edgar Martinez, had he not gotten the collision with John Marzano, could have had a better year and could have beaten Earl Webb's double record of 67.
Who was our bullpen that year? Who was in our bullpen that year?
Ooh. Norm Charlton, the sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff.
Rafael Carmona.
Yeah, Rafael Carmona.
Mike Jackson, who carried that bullpen by himself. Bobby Ayala's 5.88 ERA, and Tim Davis, who nearly took out Paul O'Neill's head and caused that fight.
Yeah, and you can understand why that team narrowly missed out on the playoffs.
Yeah, because the bullpen was just bad.
Yeah, well, you minus Mike Blowers, who had a career year in 1995.
Russ Davis, who was out for most of the season.
And you get the Yankees backup third baseman.
Okay. Yeah. I take back what I said earlier. 2003 was not the best team to not make the playoffs. It was 2016. They
had a better run differential than Texas. It's just that Mariners choked under pressure in some games.
Let me give you guys a stat about the 2016 Mariners. Second in the American League in home runs and third in the American League in ERA. So I think that team was way more talented than their record even shows, or the Pythagorean record shows. I feel like probably Service mismanaged it.
Yep, Scott Service didn't know to manage his pitchers. That was why.
Yeah.
So Chris
Iannetta.
Chris Iannetta was your catcher. Adam Lind was at first base. Robbie Cano, Ketel Marte, Kyle Sear,
Nelson Cruz.
Nori Aoki, Leonis Martin, and Seth Smith.
I loved Martin. And Seth Smith was the best, most efficient hitter in T-Mobile Park. He loved T-Mobile. He loved them T-Mobiles.
And then we had Daeho Lee.
Yes! Why did they give up on him?
Franklin Gutierrez, Sean O'Malley, Mike Zunino played a lot that year.
How about Heredia?
Guillermo Heredia. Yeah. And then Danny Vogelbach played a little bit. Chris Taylor was there too. And then your starting rotation was Felix Hernandez, Wade Miley. I forgot about Wade Miley.
Ugh.
James Paxton, Hisashi Iwakuma, and then Taiwan Walker, and then Joel Peralta. Wade Miley. And Nate Carnes. Yeah.
What if Felix was just healthy that season? What if we at least had 2015 Felix? What if?
That was actually a pretty good bullpen, right? Steve Cishek, Mike Montgomery, Nick Vincent, Vidal Nuno, and Edwin Diaz.
Edwin Diaz when he broke out.
Yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Cishek had 25 saves. I didn't even like him.
I don't know, man. I look at that lineup. I look at the lineup, and it's I don't know, man.
Second in the American League in home runs.
Yeah, but you look at the outfield. You know, Leonis Martin and Seth Smith didn't exactly light the world on fire that year, but the rest of the lineup certainly did.
I really loved Nori Aoki. I thought he was so much fun to watch, making contact, flying around the field. Even there was this one picture, I can never find it, where he's like face planting in the dirt. He's trying to make a catch. It's the funniest thing. But he was fun.
Anyone want to hear a 2007 team that accidentally won 88 games? And I'm saying it was accident.
2007?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your catcher, Kenji Jojima, Richie Sexton, who stopped hitting 30 home runs. Jose Lopez had a down year from his All-Star. Yunieski Betancourt was still all right. Adrian Beltre, Raul Ibanez, Ichiro had a great year. Jose Guillen. I remember
Jose
that team.
I remember Jose Guillen. Yeah.
Except he hated that he felt his job was being threatened by Adam Jones, though, so that's why he threw a fit. And Jose Vidro.
I remember Jose Vidro.
Ben Broussard.
The Bruiser.
And okay, now let's go to the rotation. Oh, ready for this.
He was a disaster.
Jared Washburn. He was bad.
What was his record?
10-15 with a 4.32 ERA.
Okay.
Miguel Batista, 16-11.
Yeah.
So he was okay. Felix Hernandez. Horacio Ramirez.
Horacio.
Chason Beck.
Chason Beck. I forgot about him.
Horacio Ramirez. And last but certainly not least, Jeff effing Weaver.
Hey, man, by the way, you lay off the Dreamweaver. I like Jeff Weaver.
How about 16 wins for Batista? 16 wins is unheard of today.
Right.
How about
Miguel Batista was terrible, though.
How about your bullpen? Your bullpen had George Sherrill, Eric O'Flaherty, Brandon Morrow, Sean Green, and JJ Putz, who had literally a career year.
Yeah, like I remember Brandon Morrow. He was a highly touted. Like we took Brandon Morrow over Tim Lincecum in that draft, and he was like this highly touted right-handed pitcher from Cal. And I remember when he got put in the bullpen.
Is there any other seasons we can remember where they should have made the playoffs or something, or they won by accident kind of season?
Oh, 2018.
2018.
I hated that team. That team. That entire season, I just kept saying, blow it up, blow it up.
No, that team was fun. You had Ichiro, Felix, and then the current guy
for a month.
Well, that team was
all right,
fun.
Here's the lineup. You had Mike Zunino, Ryan Healy, D. Gordon, Gene Segura, who got into a fight with D. Gordon, Kyle Seager, Denard Span.
I like Denard Span.
Heredia, who was actually a full-time player at that point.
And Mitch Haniger.
And
he had
Nelson
an awesome
Cruz.
year, by the way.
He did. And a healthy
Mitch
year,
Haniger
too.
was an all-star. Yeah, he was an all-star.
Ben Gamble. That beautiful hair. Dan Vogelbach, who didn't really play that much. And then Ichiro for a month. And now your starting rotation. And your starting rotation is depressing to look at. Mike Leake. How? Marco Gonzalez. Okay, fine, whatever. Wade LeBlanc. James Paxton. Okay, yeah, he was good. And Felix Hernandez at 8-14 with a 5.55 ERA.
Yeah, but people forget that Wade LeBlanc went 9-5 with a 3.72 ERA that year.
Wow.
Oh, 2020, a team that also almost made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Austin Nola was your catcher, but that turned into Ty France. Evan White. Ted Long Jr. was supposed to be the future of a second baseman. J.P. Crawford. Kyle Seager. Tim Lopes. Kyle Lewis. Phil Irvin.
Yeah.
Oh, and a fly ball to left field. I think that's gone. That is foul ball. Dan Vogelbach, who pretty much just disappeared, batting 094. And yeah, Dylan Moore, who I think was on roids. 8 home runs in 38 games. That was his career year, in my opinion. And then Ty France, who came on. And now you're starting rotation.
Jose Marbelos, Jake Fraley.
I love Jake Fraley.
I'm sorry to go back a little bit to Felix at 8 and 14. It was so tough to watch him his last 2 years.
And the next year was even tougher.
Yeah.
Like he was complaining about being a fifth starter, but I was like, well, there you go. There's the reason why you're a fifth starter, Felix. Sorry, buddy.
Every spring.
And by the way,
it was like every spring training, he's like, oh, I'm going to get it together this year for the Mariners fans. I'm not going to make any adjustments, but somehow things are magically going to work out.
He never had the best work ethic.
You know what was sad? He was only 28, 29 years old, too. Like people forget that he started his career like at 17. Like when he broke into the Mariners, he was like 18 years old.
Yeah,
throwing gas.
Like, dude, he had so many miles by that. He didn't even. It was like, people think it's kind of amazing what Justin Verlander did, but credit to Justin. He didn't. He wasn't. He didn't have the mileage like Felix put on his arm.
Felix had because he spent so many years carrying a bad team. Now you're starting rotation at 2020. Marco Gonzalez, 7-2 with a 3.10. That's his prime. Justice Sheffield, Yusei Kikuchi, Justin Dunn was actually decent. Nick I can't even say it. Taiwan Walker, and then he got traded. And then your bullpen was Taylor Williams, Johan Ramirez, Anthony something, Joey Gerber, Yoshida Hirano, never heard of that, and Kendall Graveman. Kendall Graveman had 2 starts? Oh, let's go to 21, which they kind of nuked themselves with that Kendall Graveman trade. Your catcher was Tom Murphy, Ty France breakout, Abraham Toro, J.P. Crawford, Kyle Seager, Jake Fraley, Jared Kelnick, Mitch Haniger, Luis Torrens, who couldn't play catcher worth a damn, and Dylan Moore. I like Jake Fraley.
And Taylor Trammell got some time. Shed Lung got some time. Sam Haggerty got some time. Donovan Walton. How did even Jacob Nottingham got some time? How did this team?
Jack Mayfield.
Dude. Yeah, and that was also the Chris Flexen 14-6 year.
And that was also
Logan
Marco
Gilbert.
Gonzalez, Logan Gilbert came on, Justice Sheffield, and Tyler Anderson.
Sheffield. Yeah.
I had hopes for Sheffield.
How did that team ever catch fire, man?
Because they won so many extra innings games, so they got insanely lucky.
That's right. I forgot about Abraham Toro just for a second there.
Let's feel nostalgic about 22. Might as well. Catcher Cal Raleigh, Ty France, Adam Frazier, J.P. Crawford, Eugenio Suarez, Jesse Winker, Julio Rodriguez, Mitch Haniger, and Carlos Santana. Abraham Toro.
I was a big Adam Frazier guy. I've always been a big fan of his.
Don't we already
I don't
feel
know why he didn't work out? I was big on that trade too when it happened.
Yeah.
It seemed like he had the right.
Don't we feel so nostalgic for 22? Isn't that sad that we have to feel nostalgic about 22?
Already 3 years later.
And they're treating it like it's being treated like it's 95 at this point.
Yep. Oh God. That's your pinnacle, a wild card berth.
23, they should have made the playoffs, but then they screwed up in September.
No, they collapsed in September. Let's keep it real.
It was bad to watch. Like, it was pain. But
the
highlights.
Sorry, go ahead, Rooftop.
No, say it. Yours is more important, probably. I want to hear it.
Okay. The other guy, you mentioned, Steve, you were big on Frazier. I was too. I was also big on Winker. When he was coming over from Cincinnati, it seemed like if there's someone who's going to be T-Mobile proof, it's this guy because he walks more than he strikes out. He's basically a 5-tool balance type hitter. You could, hit for average and for a little power. I still don't know why that thing failed, but he seems to be doing okay with the Mets now. But I don't blame them one bit for failing on that trade. It seemed like he was going to do really well.
Yeah, I was actually that entire offseason was one of the best off seasons in club history. I mean, it starts off with a bang, and they get the reigning Cy Young Award winner
Robbie Ray.
and then they trade. They have the big trade with Cincinnati.
That was like an 11th hour trade, and they got it off of Jake Fraley and Justin Dunn.
Yeah, I mean, essentially bringing in 2 All-Stars, and and then they get Adam Frazier, and it's like, the crazy thing about Jesse Winker is that I heard that he just, for whatever reason, he didn't show up prepared, didn't like Seattle, didn't like some of his teammates. And then, but here's the weird part is he gets into a fight against the Angels.
And that sparked the winning streak.
For a guy who, doesn't necessarily care too much for his teammates. I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But I think the pinnacle of it was the fact that he was a healthy scratch in the playoffs.
Yeah.
In Toronto, he was a healthy scratch against Toronto.
Yeah, from what I heard from some inside sources, he was a bit of a cancer in the clubhouse that year too. It seemed like he was going through some personal stuff.
Yeah.
And then he turned into him and Abraham Toro turned into Colton Wong.
Yep.
Tragic.
That was such a bad trade.
Tragic.
Did you think it was a bad trade day one?
It was 100% a bad trade from day one. I didn't like it at all. The momentum that the Mariners had after 2022, right? I mean, really, since they had it in 2021, finishing the 2021 season, the Mariners had so much momentum. It seemed like everything they did hit. Even if Winker didn't, it had the feeling that it hit. They had so much momentum coming off the playoffs, and then it was, it's like, okay, that's great. You realize that you made a mistake with Winker, but that's the best that you could do. Like you're unwilling to maybe package him with a higher level prospect to try to bring in somebody that, that's a little bit better for that position. What's funny, the crazy thing was when the Twins traded Luis Arias to the Marlins, and you're looking at what the Marlins paid for it, and you're kind of like you couldn't have figured something out with the Twins. You know what I mean? Like you can still give them the top prospect. You can still give them a couple top prospects if they want to eat Winker. Winker in Minnesota still works for them.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like they were and then here's the weirdest part is the very next year they do all the salary dumps, unloading Marco Gonzalez and unloading Evan White, and it's like, well, wait a second. So you were able to swing deals to get those deals happen, but you settle on Colton Wong. The one that really kind of got me was
Suarez.
It was the deal for when we got Home Dude from Toronto.
Home Dude from Toronto.
Yeah. Right fielder that went to the Dodgers last year.
Teoscar Hernandez.
Right team, wrong player. Right team, wrong player. And it's like, I knew that was bound to fail. I know a lot of people thought he had a good year, but it was like, dude, you're taking a team that's playing in basically a launching pad in a team where there's just miles of protection in the lineup. And now you bring him to a ballpark that's not really conducive to right-handed power in a lineup that has absolutely no protection. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I'm with you guys. I think Kelenich's going to go to the Dodgers too, and probably turn into an MVP just because of how much protection everyone has in that lineup.
He'll play like twice a week and end up hitting like 350.
Yep, totally.
I like the idea of who's the dude in Toronto that I like. Hold on real quick.
I guess we'll see. Well, while you do that, I'm gonna take a bathroom break.
The guy in Toronto that I really like, Dalton Varsho.
Oh,
That's a guy. Yeah, Dalton Varsho.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. Who else do they got that I like?
Looks like they're probably going to move Bichette at some point this year if they're not mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny Jansen. There's a couple guys there that I like. You know what'd be interesting though is like, because it almost feels like the Blue Jays are at a precipice where they have to make a decision whether they're going to continue. If they're going to have to decide which one of their two big guys they're going to keep. Okay, great, but it almost feels like they're at that point where they're miles away from their last playoff appearance, and all the things that they did right in rebuilding. But now we're a few years later, and it almost feels like that's coming to an end, and you're wondering whether or not they're going to be in a position where they're going to have to make that decision of whether they're going to try to rebuild as well too. You wonder if you might be able to pick off a couple of those guys. How interesting is like Jose Barrios with this Mariners team?
Jose Barrios.
Yeah, Toronto's ace.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in Toronto, it doesn't seem like they're going to keep either Bichette or Guerrero. It seems both of those guys are determined to hit the market.
Or Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, they got to figure out what they're going to do over the next few months with those guys.
Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios. Yeah, they're solid
Jose
starters.
Barrios. I would rather have Gausman over Barrios, but I wouldn't mind either of those. But
what do you think it would take to get Bo Bichette? Because he had a down year.
It would probably cost
be a lot. I bet
it would be a lot.
Yeah,
but they still have George Springer.
But it's also something you have to consider is like, do you think you can re-sign Bo Bichette long term?
No,
I don't think he wants to stay. I think didn't he say he does not like Toronto? I think I heard something like that recently, maybe on Foul Territory. He told someone he doesn't like Canada, so he's determined to get out of there. Do
you know how much they pay in taxes north of the border?
More than enough.
I wouldn't like being a rich dude in a place where you're not only paying a federal tax but a provincial tax and then a city tax, and you get taxed up the yin yang in Canada. I wouldn't want to be a rich dude up there either. But that's the thing. It's like Bo Bichette strikes me as somebody that probably will end up in Southern California as well too.
Yeah.
If not with the Dodgers, then the Angels or the Padres. Like he strikes me as one of those dudes.
Bo Bichette is he was born in Florida.
Orlando. But also, do you know what team has Bo Bichette written all over him?
The Rockies.
No. Although that would be kind of cool though. Either the Texas Rangers or the Houston Astros. Like the Texas Rangers for sure.
They have Corey Seager already, though.
I know they do. I know they do. But if they paid him a truckload of money to play second base or play third base or something like that,
I guess they would. Vlad Guerrero Jr. used to be a third baseman, and then something happened.
He got big.
He got big. He got lethargic.
Elephant in the room.
Yeah, for sure.
He's a big boy. He's 6'2", 245. That's a big boy. I
can't see Bo Bichette going to Colorado at all.
No, I don't think anyone wants to go to Colorado.
Mile high.
As much as we talk about how incompetent the Mariners are, the Rockies are on another level.
Rockies are on another level. Same with the Angels.
Artie Moreno. Okay, who would you rather have, Artie Moreno or John Stanton? That's a tough one.
Ooh.
Artie Moreno. At least Artie Moreno has a willingness to spend, but the problem with Artie Moreno is he
meddles in too much.
He meddles in too much.
Yeah.
He's like who's the Dallas Cowboy or Jerry Jones? He's like baseball version of Jerry Jones. He just meddles way too much.
And then he forced his way to have Anaheim turn into Los Angeles, which it should still be Anaheim.
Well, at least Jones can keep his teams competitive. I mean, Artie Moreno he can't build a farm system.
True.
Can't do.
I heard he
anything.
treats his farm system players. I heard he treats his minor league players like trash and expendables.
He
Gives them like
rushes
2
them.
meals a day.
They haven't developed anyone since Mike Trout, when you really think about it.
Yeah, now they have their team is now consisting of what's their core players? Do they even have a core?
Oh, what's that dude? Who was
Joe Adele?
forever? Yeah, Joe Adele, who was forever in Salt Lake.
Oh, man.
Joe Adele.
He beat up the Mariners all the time.
What was the Joe Adele? Yeah, you're right. I think you're absolutely right about that.
There's
Who
that
was
guy.
by the way, who was the first baseman that they drafted?
And they called him up in the following season.
Yeah, it was like they drafted him in the summer in June of 2023, and by July he was in the big leagues.
Nick Shanuel.
Yeah, there you go, Nick Shanuel.
Now Logan Ohape, who's their catcher. Nolan Shanuel.
How about that Ben Joyce guy? What's he up to? Did they screw him up too? I remember he was throwing like 105 out of college. I guess that says everything. No one knows what's going on with him.
Yeah, it's like that's funny. Here we go.
Oh, Mariners are down to their last out.
Zach
Last
Neto.
3 outs.
Okay.
Hey, who was a worse signing for the Angels? Josh Hamilton or Anthony Rendon?
Oh,
Anthony
that's a
Rendon.
question.
No, wait, no. At least he's still around. Josh Hamilton, he only lasted like a year and he went back to Texas.
At least Josh Hamilton helped them get to the playoffs, right? He was part of the playoff team.
Well, barely.
Part of the playoff
Yeah.
team.
Oh, he was a little bit,
Yeah.
not much.
Yeah.
They still got there.
Yeah.
That was what 2012, 2013?
2014.
2014? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Anthony Rendon has been injured. It seems like he's been injured for the last 5 years.
Yeah. The Mariners dodged a bullet with Hamilton too, because I think they were involved
they
with his
were.
free agent process. They dodged a huge bullet with him.
Yeah. But that being said, though, it's like the things that made Josh Hamilton successful in Texas was they had like a handler. They hired a handler, right? Because one of Josh Hamilton's biggest problems was he was a complete coke freak. He was a cokehead, right? He was a drug addict cokehead, right? And so they had a handler that was keeping him straight on the road. And I would like to think that the Mariners probably would understand that and at least try to do the same things for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Mariners are a better organization for players when it comes to mental health and some of the things that are off the field. I think the Mariners actually do a pretty good job. So I'd like to think the Mariners probably would have done right by Josh Hamilton, but the question is like I remember when Josh Hamilton was drafted by the Reds and then he was out of baseball for a while. And the question was whether or not like that was his prime in Texas. Those like 4 years in Texas where he was winning MVPs, like whether that was like the prime of his career. And then, it was like a comet. It was just quick.
That 2011 Texas team was pretty loaded. They should have won it all.
Did he relapse with the Angels? Is that what happened?
That's what. Yeah.
Oh.
He was in Southern California. He was in LA, baby. He was in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Of course he relapsed.
Tempting. Yeah.
Of course he relapsed. All the cocaine that's flying in LA.
I read his book when I was a kid too. He wrote a book about his recovery and all that.
Yeah.
So, what a shame.
Yeah. He has a hot wife too. God damn it.
And he screwed it up.
Hot ass wife.
The 1-1, swing and a miss, strike 2.
By the way, does Trevor Bauer sign with a major league team this year?
No.
God. No, he can stay outside the country. I don't want him here.
I don't know, man. That dude got railroaded.
For many different reasons.
But that being said, though, I don't know, man. There were a lot of Tiger fans that wanted Trevor Bauer.
No, I wouldn't want him. He makes it all about himself. I used to be really big into
Oh,
his
base
show
hit
with
to right field.
his
Maybe
show
the
with
Mariners
Eric.
can make some kind of a comeback.
He used
Say
to
it again,
he does
Joe.
the stuff with Eric.
Oh, there's a base hit by number 81. That was, I can't even say his name. Ram Bush.
Okay. Austin
Yeah.
Rambush.
Now it's going to be Sundstrom who was up to the plate. And after that's going to be Luis Seibel with no outs so far. So we somewhat have a game-ish.
All right. So continue what you were saying, Joe.
Yeah, so Bauer does the Watch Momentum with Eric Sim. I don't know if you guys.
Eric Sim, a former minor league baseball player, somehow turned his failed baseball career into YouTube channel content creation.
Do you guys pay attention to his show with Trevor Bauer much?
Not
No,
much.
not much.
I was into it for a while. It's kind of like the Jackass version of baseball in YouTube.
Oh, so like John Boy Media.
Yeah, sort of. So they had like this one video where he was trying to hit a 100-mile-per-hour fastball with like random objects, like
oh yeah, I saw
like a garbage can.
Yeah,
I liked that show for a while that he did with Bauer until they literally bought a Babe Ruth gamer and took BP with it and broke it.
That's what ruined it?
Are you serious?
That's what ruined it for me. Because I'm big into baseball history, and
sure, there's
to me
things
that's kind of disrespectful.
I kind of like the theory behind it because you kind of want to swing the stick that Babe Ruth, because obviously Babe Ruth, is a legend, right? So you kind of want to know what it feels like to swing one of his sticks. But that being said, it's like a priceless heirloom, right?
Do it with a whipple ball, then.
Right, and it's not something that you actually want to take live BP with. Yeah, I can understand your frustration behind that. I don't think I would ever, dude. I would never play. Do you remember that movie, The Sandlot, where the kid swipes a Babe Ruth signed the Babe Ruth signed autograph ball? It's the same principle. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah,
exactly.
What are you doing?
At least you got the consolation prize of having the entire autographed baseballs of the 1927 Yankees, but the kid still got grounded.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, like what would you rather have, a Babe Ruth autograph ball or the Murderer's Row ball? I think I'd probably take the Murderer's Row ball.
Yeah, I would too.
100%. Is Murderer's Row the 1927 team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are considered the greatest baseball team in history.
I don't know, man. The 2008 New York Yankees were pretty special.
Okay, so I think if you're going to
2009, right?
No, 2008 when they won 114.
That was 1998.
If you're going to say the 27 Yankees are the best, then you need to say 34 Pittsburgh Crawfords are right in that conversation too, with Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, Satchel Paige, and Oscar Charleston. I think they were better than the 27 Yankees.
The most underrated world champion was the 1948 Cleveland Indians. That was one of the more underrated champions when you look at that team with Lou Boudreau, and they had Larry Doby. Satchel Paige was even on that team, and then they beat the Boston Braves that had Warren Spahn and Johnny Sain.
That's how the game is going. They lost their feed.
Oh,
yeah.
You guys had one job, Mariners.
The 1948 Cleveland Indians, underrated team. What was it? I'm trying to think here.
I hate it hearing the pre-47 teams and players without mentioning the Negro League teams because they were just as good.
For sure. Sure. I'm trying to think of, like, there was an early 60s. It was like towards the end of what was considered the Yankee dynasty of the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And then I think it was 1961 or 1962 was when Jim Bouton was a rookie. And they played the Dodgers in the World Series, and it was a Yankee team that was good, but it wasn't really all that great. And it had like a broken down. I think by that point, the Mick had that permanent knee injury where he just wasn't necessarily the same. Because in 61, that's when Maris broke the single season home run record. So it could have even been 1961. It could have been
63, I think.
Or 63. Yeah, it was in that early 60s.
Yeah, 62. They went up against the Giants in the World Series. So I think it would have been
went to
62.
Game 7.
Yeah.
We can't really.
The 1969 Pittsburgh Pirates.
1969 Mets. The Miracle Mets.
When what's his ass? The second baseman hit the Game 7 home run against the Yankees.
That was 1960.
1960. Yeah, there you go. The Pittsburgh Pirates.
And
1960.
most iconic part was when his father was running with his son to home plate.
Oh yeah, and by the way, the
Yogi Berra played left field.
That's crazy.
And by the way, we can't really cover this Mariners game anymore because it's still in this state.
It looks like it's over. So
basically,
they lost.
Yeah, Bill Mazeroski. That's right, Bill Mazeroski. And by the way, Bill Mazeroski is in the Hall of Fame specifically because of that home run in Game 7 of the 1960 World Series. And statistically, he's the worst player enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Let me take a look at his. Well, I guess when you beat the almighty Yankees, anything's possible.
In my lifetime,
then Luis Gonzalez should be Hall of Famer too for that. Wow, he was a 260 hitter, a 299 OBP, a career 138 home runs, and he was to be fair, he made some all-star teams.
Right, but in my lifetime, the 1988 Los Angeles Dodgers,
they were considered underdog team.
Yeah, when they beat that Oakland A's team, which was probably the best version of the Oakland A's in the late 80s.
I thought it was 1990 because they even had Ricky Henderson.
Yeah. So 1988 was their best version. 1989 they actually won the World Series. That was the
earthquake year,
the earthquake series.
Yep.
And then 1990 they were very good in 1990, and they got upset by
Lou Piniella.
Lou Piniella Cincinnati. As a matter of fact, I can actually give you the starting lineup right off the top of my head of that 1990 Cincinnati Reds team. I think
you know what? Let me rate you on that. Hold on.
All right.
Let's go to.
That was such an awesome team. That 90 Cincinnati Reds team was the.
Do you want me to do opening day roster or World Series Game 1 roster?
Either or.
I'll do World Series because that's when they were supposed to be. All right, we'll go to Game 1.
All right. So behind the plate was Joe Oliver.
Oh, you mean the Nasty Boys?
Yeah, the 1990 Cincinnati Reds. Behind
Behind
the plate was Joe Oliver.
Good.
First baseman was Todd Benzinger.
Hal Morris.
Yeah, Todd Benzinger was the first baseman, though. Maybe not in Game 1 of the World Series, but he was their starting first baseman. Todd Benzinger was their starting first baseman.
Okay, fine. Let me go to the overall roster. Let me just go to the roster. Yep, you're right. Todd Benzinger.
Yeah. Second base was Mariano Duncan,
who was on the Yankees eventually. Yep.
Yeah. And then shortstop was Barry Larkin.
Prime
Barry Larkin. Third baseman was Chris Sabo.
Yep.
Who came to the Mariners for spring training one time. Right field was Paul O'Neill.
Yep.
Paul O'Neill had some fire in him.
Center field was Eric Davis.
Cancer survivor.
Yeah. Left field was Cal Daniels.
Billy Hatcher.
Okay. Was Cal Daniels on that team though?
Was Cal Daniels on that team?
1990? Billy Hatcher, okay.
Nope, they didn't.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so your starting rotation was Jose Rio.
Yep.
Tom Browning.
Yep.
And that's where you lose me. And then, of course, you had the Nasty Boys in the bullpen. Charlton, Dibble, and Rod Dibble, Norm Charlton, and who was the third Nasty Boy? His name is escaping me right now. That's pretty good though. For the
Randy Myers.
Randy Myers. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad right off the top of my head. The 1990 Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, he did it.
I'll take.
So, and by the way, and here's the funny thing, right? So, in 1991, Jack Morris pitched a 10-inning shutout against the Atlanta Braves with the Minnesota Twins. And 2 years later, I think he pitched Game 7 against Philly with the Toronto Blue Jays when he was with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Wait, who?
Jack Morris.
Jack Morris.
Wait, Jack Morris was on the Blue Jays team?
Yeah, he was.
No.
Sure was.
Jack
Sure
Morris,
was.
Mr. Game 7.
Yep.
I think he pitched in Game 7 in 1991 and Game 7 in 1993.
Game 6.
Game 6?
Wait, let's. Jack Morris was a Blue. I had no idea. I knew the Twins won, yeah. And his years with the Tigers.
Yeah, Jack Morris pitched that game 10-inning shutout in Game 7 of the 1991 World Series, and I think he was pitching against. God, I want to say it was Steve Avery.
Dave Stewart was the starter for Toronto.
John Smoltz.
In 91, Game 7, it was John Smoltz.
Oh, wait, whoops. I was looking at
Smoltz.
ALCS. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, Steve Avery was a part of that 91 Braves team, though. That dude fell off, too. Wasn't Mark Lemke the starting second baseman for Atlanta in 91?
Yes.
Was that 96?
It was
Lemke?
both.
Both, okay.
Wait, let's go to game. Here, I got Game 6. Who was the starter? Dave Stewart.
Dave Stewart. Yeah, I know he played for Toronto, too.
Here's Toronto's team. Ricky Henderson, Devon White, Paul Molitor, Joe Carter, who the Mariners had a deal with in 97, which turned in which instead they went for Paul Spoljaric rather than Joe Carter for Jose Cruz Jr., John Olerud, Roberto Alomar.
Yeah, Robbie Alomar. By the way, the greatest in-season trade ever, when Toronto traded the crime dog Fred McGriff, and I think they traded Tony Fernandez to the Padres for Joe Carter and Robbie Alomar.
Aye.
Yeah, by the way, Pat Gillick was the GM of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yep, and he spent time with the Baltimore Orioles, built that team into a contender, and then the Mariners, and then the Phillies, and finished the job there.
Yep.
Speaking of greatest teams of all time, I'll take the 1970 Orioles over anybody, and I can name most of that lineup. I think you had Frank Robinson in right field.
Frank Robinson was at Baltimore?
Yeah, fuck yeah, it was at Baltimore.
That's where he won the Triple Crown, Joe.
He's the only player in Major League history to win the Triple Crown in both leagues.
Yeah, Paul Blair in center. I forget who's in left. Davey Johnson at second.
Davey Johnson became a manager.
Brooks Robinson at first. Boog Powell at third. Boog Powell at first, and then the great pitching rotation with Palmer and all those.
Davey
dudes.
Johnson's still hanging.
Yeah, Davey Johnson hit like 40 home runs or something like that as a second baseman.
David Johnson, the most gutsy thing he did as a manager, which was in 1973 where he hit 43 home runs, against the Mariners, game 1 of the ALDS, he elected to not start Rafael Palmeiro. And the Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles still ended up winning 9-3. They shelled Randy Johnson to pieces that game.
It's a good move.
Yeah, it was gutsy. Before we take
By the way,
because we're in that time. Wait, what?
You said the 1970 Orioles? That was Jim Palmer, right?
Yep, Jim Palmer, Mike Cuellar, and didn't they have like 4 20-game winners, I think, or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was a dynamite team. They had everything.
I think I can do the same thing with the 1988 Oakland A's. I think I might be able to do that. All right. So, catcher was Terry Steinbach, and I think his backup was Ron Hasse. First base was McGuire. Second base was Mike Gallego.
Is this 1990?
1988.
Oh,
Shortstop was Walt Weiss. Third baseman was Carney Lansford. Right field was Canseco.
Yep.
Center field was Dave Henderson.
Our guy.
Left field was, I want to say it was a combination of Stan Javier and Luis Polonia.
That's fair.
And their DHs were Dave Parker and Don Baylor.
Don Baylor, 2005 Mariners hitting coach.
Yeah, and he was one of the, I think he's a Hall of Famer too. Their rotation was Dave Stewart, Kurt Young, Storm Davis. I remember Storm Davis, and Bob Welsh. And I think their bullpen was Eckersley, Rick Honeycutt, Eric Plunk, and then I can't remember who else. Oh, Steve Ontiveros was on that team too.
Gene Nelson.
Okay.
Greg Caderet.
Greg Caderet. Okay.
Eric Plunk.
Was Jim Corsi on that team?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing that I can remember that.
All right.
I wonder if I can do it for the 88 Dodgers. It doesn't matter. All I know, my favorite player in 1988 was Oral Hershiser, the Bulldog.
And
one of the best pitchers ever.
And he gave himself run support in game 2.
I think he had a streak in 1988 where he's pitched 59 consecutive scoreless innings. I think at the time was a major league record.
Carried that entire team. And that was also the season Tommy Lasorda beat up the Phillies mascot.
The Philly Fanatic?
Yep. He beat him up because he brought like a doll of Tommy Lasorda, and Tommy Lasorda literally beat him up, and everyone thought it was a joke, and Tommy was like, no, I was actually effing pissed. Don't you dare dishonor me, kind of thing.
Do you remember, and I know we're pressed for time, but this is my last question. So do you remember in 1992 when the Mariners signed Kevin Mitchell? You guys remember that?
Yeah, he got fat.
The former Giant. What was the year that he made the barehanded catch in Atlanta? Or
I think it was 89.
Maybe it was in Philly. He made a barehanded catch.
You said Kevin Mitchell, right?
Yeah, Kevin Mitchell made a barehanded catch.
Let me look it up. Kevin Mitchell, barehanded catch.
You haven't seen this before?
He did that in 89 as a Giant.
Right. Well, who did you do it against?
He did it against St. Louis.
St. Louis, okay.
Off of Ozzie Smith.
Wizard.
And then in 92, he shows up extremely out of shape because he was supposed to be that final piece of the puzzle.
What happened, by the way, what happened to the days of our shortstops that couldn't hit, but they were great defensively?
Omar Vizquel didn't exactly have as best of a bat.
I feel like Andrelton Simmons was the last guy of that breed.
Right.
Yeah.
The primarily defensive shortstops. Because I remember like back in the 80s and 90s, it was a common occurrence where you would have a shortstop who basically hit 9th in your order or 8th if you were in the National League. That was primarily there for defensive purposes. All right.
All right. Well, Joe and Steve, thank you for being here. Although, yes, it wasn't really much Mariners play-by-play because spring training is really bad for our attention spans, apparently.
Well, by the way, understand that it's spring training and it just doesn't matter. Like the results don't matter. Like these players are just getting into the swing of things and getting ready for spring training. And like these podcasts are fun for me because we just
vibe.
It's nice to start talking baseball again and stuff.
Yeah, just talk nostalgia.
And then 30 days from now, then it's all serious business ish.
Well,
by the way, who's opening day? Who are we playing opening day?
The homeless A's.
The homeless A's. Nice.
In Seattle?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll be there. I'm gonna be there for that for sure.
Fair enough.
Well, thank you, Joe and Steve, and every one of you have a good day. And painfully saying, go Mariners.
All right.